Chapter 2284, The Bird That Stands Out, 2. What was this guy trying to do? You bastard. Don't look at me like I'm your prey, okay? Chi-Ran felt a sense of danger and could not help but lean closer to Leng Ruoxue. Then, she grabbed Leng Ruoxue's arm and said, "To express my gratitude to my savior, I have a lot of good things to give you." After saying that, Chi-Ran immediately pulled Leng Ruoxue along and ran away. She was so angry that she glared at her. Damn it! How dare that flower! The demon's face darkened, but he didn't chase after her. Hee hee. That flower was originally a lecherous person, what would he not dare to do? Azure laughed evilly and said matter-of-factly. A lecherous person. Hearing these words, everyone was once again shocked. They all looked at Sung and thought, does this person know what kind of effect his words would have? It would harm that beautiful man. Everyone thought to themselves with sympathy. Just as this thought appeared in their minds, they saw the evildoer's face turn even darker. Then, a white light flashed in front of everyone and the evildoer disappeared. AI. Everyone sighed, silently praying for Hua Meinan in their hearts. They hoped that he would not do anything that could not be undone. Otherwise, that demonic man would probably make him return to his previous state. No, it might even be worse than before. When the three of them were not around, everyone's thoughts ran wild. When they saw that Chiron had returned in one piece, it was as if grass had grown in everyone's hearts. The fire of gossip began to burn. He was actually fine. Everyone was shocked. Chiran felt depressed when she received everyone's sympathetic and curious gazes. What was going on? He had only left for a short while, and these people's expressions had changed from surprise to sympathy. Chi-Ran couldn't understand. He didn't do anything he shouldn't have. Of course, he would never have thought that his kind and pure self would be labeled as a lecherous man by a certain beast. If he knew, he would definitely cry out that he was wronged. This was basically the rhythm of snow in June. Unfortunately, Chi-Ran knew nothing about it. Although Leng Ruoxue noticed that something was amiss, she was smart enough not to ask. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue received a voice transmission from her godfather asking why they were not here yet. So, she put this matter to the back of her mind for the time being. As for how Chiron got injured and how she got so badly injured, she would ask him again when there was a chance in the future. In truth, even if she did not ask, she could already tell from Sung's words that Chi-Ran's injury had something to do with rime ice. Following that, Leng Ruoxue instructed everyone to collect the top-grade crystals on the walls because they had already received their reward. When everyone heard this, they quickly moved. Very quickly, the top-grade crystals on the wall were all collected by everyone. Chi-Ran was shocked to see this. With his mouth half open, he stared at the nimble crowd. Now he finally knew what a locust swarm was. The people in front of him were unbelievably quick. He couldn't help but look at the bare wall again. He didn't know what to feel in his heart, but it was definitely not heartache. After all, those Jingshi were not of much use to him. Thanks when Leng Ruoxue saw his expression, she could not help but tease, "What's wrong? You can't bear to." No, these crystals are useless to me," Chi-Ran quickly said as she wiped the cold sweat off her forehead without batting an eyelid. Could he say that these Jingshi were just trash in his eyes? Seeing how excited everyone was, he knew that he had to keep his words to himself. Otherwise, it would definitely cause everyone to be angry. Then why do you have such an expression? Leng Ruoxue asked in amusement. I'm just too shocked by the speed at which you people do things. It's true. Chi-Ran promised. She even raised a hand and made an oath. Time is money. Leng Ruoxue said matter-of-factly, then split the crystal stones into 3 portions, along with 2 storage rings, and passed them to Shen Nua and Luyue. The two of them looked at the ring, then at Leng Ruoxue, their faces full of question marks. This is Hua Meinan's reward for us. I've split it into 3. This is yours. Leng Ruoxue explained. Ah. We don't need it. the two of them hurriedly declined. You can have it all. If we need it, we'll ask you for it. Lu Yue added with a smile. On the other hand, Shen Nua kept nodding her head at the side, indicating that she agreed with what he said. Hearing their words, Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but curse in her heart. Old fox. After that, he didn't force them to take the items and kept them. In fact, she had already known that this would be the result. However, she had to give what she should give. Whether she wanted it or not was their problem. After doing all this, Leng Ruoxue and the others planned to leave the bottom of the cliff. Who knew that Qi Ran would want to follow them? When Leng Ruoxue heard Qi Ran's words, she said in a speechless manner, "If you leave, what will happen to these little guys?" She pointed at the pitiful little fox with tears in her eyes. This little thing was about to cry. More importantly, the poisonous fog at the bottom of the cliff had suddenly reduced a lot after Qi Ran recovered. As such, it was much easier for outsiders to reach the bottom of the cliff. That was why she was worried about the safety of the little fox and the other sprites. They naturally left with me. Qi Ran said matter-of-factly. Can you take them away? Leng Ruoxue was very surprised. This was rather unexpected. Of course. I have my own space to take care of them. Qi Ran said with a smile. The little fox, who was initially in a daze, not only stopped crying after hearing this, but she also revealed a shy smile. If that's the case, then take them and leave with us. When Leng Ruoxue heard this, she agreed immediately. She had long heard that one could have their own world after becoming a reverent god-level cultivator. In that case, didn't that mean that this little flower had the power of a reverent god? However, as far as she knew, the reverent god's world was fixed in a certain place and could not be carried around at all. According to this logic, this little flower did have some unique abilities. No wonder these plants called it ancestor. In just a few short seconds, Leng Ruoxue's imagination ran wild again. At the same time, two chuckling sounds could be heard in her head. However, she intentionally ignored them. Qi Ran moved very quickly. With a slight wave of her hand, the little fox and the other beasts immediately disappeared. With another wave of her hand, the beautiful scenery at the bottom of the cliff became bare. It was as if it was winter and the leaves had dried up. Then, everyone left the bottom of the cliff together. At the same time, the poisonous fog at the bottom of the cliff slowly dispersed. After they left the cliff, Xiaohua and the rest of the beasts volunteered to take the lead and headed towards the Yao family's main city. Leng Ruoxue and the rest followed behind them unhurriedly. Of course, when Xiaohua and the other snakes left, there was one or several people wrapped around their tails. At this time, those people were basically unconscious. Even if one or two of them had some consciousness, they were also dizzy from the unstable bumps of the snakes. Chapter 2285, The Bird That Stands Out, 3. Upon seeing this, Qi Ran was shocked again. What was going on? Why was it that after he woke up, he found that many things were out of his expectations? Or could it be that he had missed too many people, things while he was unconscious, so he had become a little white? This possibility made Qi Ran deeply worried. Back then, not many people would know about the 7-crystal flower. However, when the name Qi Ran was mentioned, everyone would know about it. That was why he was once a famous person. But now, when he thought about how Leng Ruoxue and the others did not react to his name, he felt even more sorrowful. Seeing Qi Ran's dumbfounded expression, the first elder, who was the closest to her, patted her on the shoulder and explained, "Those people are our enemies. Lil Fire took them to ask for living expenses." As he explained, the first elder's heart was filled with sympathy for Qi Ran. Ai. Poor little flower. After being in a coma for so many years, to wake up to find that their world had changed, no one would be able to accept this. Therefore, the great elder decided to brainwash old Gu as soon as possible. At the very least, he had to let him adapt to their life, their rhythm, and their that. Oh. Are we poor? Ran couldn't help but ask curiously after hearing First Elder's words. We're not poor. However, there was no reason to raise them for free, right? Therefore, we can't lose a single cent. The Great Elder said. Ran nodded, even though she still didn't quite understand. The rest of the time became the time for the Great Elder to answer 100,000 questions about Ran. If the Great Elder couldn't answer, Dongfang Lin and the others would take over. So, along the way, Leng Rushua listened to Ran's endless questions. Just like that, Leng Ruoshua and the others arrived at the Yao family's main city in the midst of Ran's endless questions. As they had been walking on the small path and had not passed by the city, when Ran saw the tall city gate of the Yao family's main city, she could not help but exclaim, I can't believe there's a city here. In the past, this place was still a stinking ditch. Pfft. First Elder and the others couldn't help but laugh when they heard this. Ran was really too cute. Although they had been stumped by Ran's questions on the way here, they were still happy to be able to impart new knowledge to old Gu, who had been in a coma for hundreds of thousands of years. At least, under their careful education, Ran was slowly growing up. It could also be said that the pure and innocent Ran would never return. It wouldn't take long for him to be led astray by everyone. But now, he was still innocent. Therefore, everyone cherished his current appearance. What's wrong? Did I say anything wrong? Ran asked in confusion when she heard their laughter. You're right. However, this place isn't that fragrant right now, and our enemy is the master of this divine territory. The First Elder laughed evilly. If that's the case, then let's help them restore this place to a stinking ditch. Ran suddenly said. Everyone who heard her was stunned. Oh my God! Could it be that the current Ran had been led astray? It was too terrifying. It was no wonder people said that it was difficult to learn good things, but it only took one day to learn bad things. Clearly, it was only a matter of time before she became bad. Looking at everyone's stunned and shocked expressions, Ran said proudly, hee hee. Are you frightened by me? Actually, I was just joking. I'm such an innocent child, how could I do such a thing? If there's anything to do, it should be you guys. Everyone was dumbfounded. They were wrong. Ran was definitely not an innocent child. The filling inside her was also black. However, he did not show it often. Seeing that everyone was looking at her in a daze, Ran ran to Leng Ruoshua again. Like a puppy, she stared at Leng Ruoshua with her wet, dark golden eyes and asked without blinking, Schwer, am I right? That makes sense. However, you can't treat your companions as your helpers. So, you have to do your part. Leng Ruoshua said with a smile. Of course, but my talent is very simple. I can only use poison. Ran said, a little depressed. You're poisonous too. His words surprised Leng Ruoshua. She could not help but size Ran up. Was this fellow really poisonous? Why couldn't she tell? Of course I do. Moreover, my poison is almost on par with that slut Wu Wanus. Otherwise, after I was poisoned that year, how could I have waited until now for you to save me? Ran said matter-of-factly. Ran's words piqued Leng Ruoxua's interest. She then extended her fair hand and said with a smile, give me some poison to use. Thanks, what do you want poison for? Leng Ruoxua's request made Ran's fragile little heart beat wildly. She didn't know why, but she suddenly had a bad feeling. She kept feeling that someone was going to be in trouble. Woo! Why did this happen? Ran was conflicted. Give me some poison to use. Leng Ruoshua glanced at Ran, who was suddenly sad about the spring and autumn, and repeated. You can't use poison to harm people. Ran reminded Leng Ruoshua worriedly, but she still handed her a transparent, glass-like bottle. Don't worry. I didn't even harm people. Leng Ruoshua promised and kept the small bottle into her bracelet. The group continued to move forward. However, before they could reach the inn where the master of the Ning family was, they were blocked by a sea of people in front of them. Of course, those people were not blocking them on purpose. The crowd in front of them seemed to be attracted by something. The great elder was curious. He patted the shoulder of the person in front of him and asked in a low voice, "Friend, what's going on in front? Why is there a traffic jam?" It's so lively up ahead. The Yao family's elders are currently being hung in the air by a bunch of snakes, waiting for the Yao family head to pay for their living expenses. That person informed them with great enthusiasm. Even the great elder felt that his enthusiasm was a little too much. Then, first elder couldn't help but ask, "You dare to watch the Yao family's show in the Yao family's divine territory? Aren't you afraid that the Yao family will come after you later?" Tisk. The law was not responsible. There are so many of us, who would the Yao family remember? Besides, the Yao family doesn't have the time to care about us. They're already panicking, hee. The man became more and more excited as he spoke, and in the end, he even laughed in a very wretched manner. He did not forget to remind the great elder, "This is a rare opportunity. Don't miss it." "Ah. Thank you. We won't miss this." The great elder couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat from his forehead. He felt some sympathy for the old man of the Yao family. However, these people's thoughts were right. They didn't add insult to injury. They only saw the Yao family as a joke, so what did it matter? Would the old man of the Yao family dare to silence them? If that was the case, then old man Yao would have to find a way to exterminate all the forces present today. Otherwise, the matter of the Yao family would not be able to be concealed. At the thought of this, first elder turned to Leng Ruoxue and whispered, "Girl, the road ahead is blocked, what do we do now?" "Girl, don't be afraid. I'll take you there. I promise I'll find you a good position." Azure suddenly promised. In the next second, the group had already appeared outside the inn. At this moment, the guests who were attending the banquet in the inn were all attracted by the incident created by Xiaohua. Leng Ruoxue and the others were standing on the side where the Ning family's master and the rest were. It was indeed a good angle. However, their position was slightly further back, and the gazes of the people present were all attracted by the black mass of snakes in the sky and the Yao family elders. Therefore, almost no one noticed them. However, Leng Ruoxue still sent a voice transmission to Master Ning and told her godfather where she was. Hearing this, Master Ning felt a little more at ease. In reality, when he saw these snakes, the master of the Ning family knew that his precious daughter had arrived. Now that he had received Leng Ruoxue's voice transmission, he was able to watch the Yao family make a fool of themselves in peace. Suddenly, the master of the Ning family felt his sleeve being pulled. He looked down and saw Old Man Cheng looking at him with a smirk. He then whispered, "Old Man Ning, do you think Old Man Yao will ask us for help this time?" He was really curious. "I won tea. There are so many helpers today, he won't use us." The head of the Ning family glanced at the ashen face of the head of the Yao family, which was gradually turning black, and said with great certainty, "AI. That's a pity." The head of the Cheng family couldn't help but sigh. What a good opportunity to make money. It didn't belong to them. What's there to pity? How much money do you think the Yao family still has? The master of the Ning family laughed evilly. "Ah. That's true." Hearing this, the head of the Cheng family immediately calmed down. Recently, the Yao family had lost a lot of money, so they probably didn't have much left. However, what he didn't expect was that some of the thugs didn't need money at all. They didn't even need the Yao family head's request and volunteered to stand up for the Yao family. "Yao family head, I'll help you teach these stupid snakes a lesson, you don't have any objections, right?" As a matter of fact, just as the head of the Cheng family had calmed down, an extremely beautiful woman in her early 30s had already implored the head of the Yao family with a cold face. Hearing this, the head of the Cheng clan was very angry. He couldn't help but curse in his heart. "Damn old witch, can't you just calm down for a while? Must it be this one?" The woman who had spoken was one of the two elders from the Feng clan. In truth, it wasn't because she had a good relationship with the head of the Yao family that she wanted to stand up for him. It was because she had always been brooding over the treatment she had received before, and she had long been suppressing her anger. However, she couldn't vent her anger on the person who had annoyed her, so she could only use these uninvited snakes as her punching bags. Chapter 2286 Face Slapping 1. When the head of the Yao family heard these words, he couldn't ask for more. Wasn't this like getting a pillow for sleeping? How stupid would he be if he refused such a good deal? Besides, he was planning to find someone to help. With someone volunteering, not only did he save time, but he also saved money. However, the head of the Yao family still pretended to hesitate and said with an embarrassed face, "Elder Qin, how can I accept this?" Hearing this, the head of the Chen clan was so disgusted that he wanted to vomit. He couldn't help but curse in his heart. Damn old man, why are you pretending? The more he looked at this old man, the more he disliked him. He clearly wanted someone to help him, but he put on such a deadpan face. Who was he showing it to? As for the woman who was called Elder Qin, she said indifferently, "What's there to be embarrassed about? The Yao family head sincerely invited us to be his guests. Now that the Yao family head is in trouble, it's only natural that we lend a hand. Take it for granted, my ass. Wasn't this like a bird taking a mouse to meddle in other people's business?" The head of the Cheng family continued to curse in his heart. He really couldn't stand these two people who were so arrogant. However, these two people had the intention of looking at green beans and liking each other. This made him even more uncomfortable. At the thought of this, the head of the Chen clan couldn't help but say, "Elder Qin, old man Yao already said that you don't need to help, so why are you still so eager? With your strength, I think it's better for you to not reach out your hand. Even this old man Xiao can't beat him, you'll just be throwing your life away if you go." The patriarch of the Chen clan was very kind, so he had kindly reminded Elder Qin of the Feng clan. Furthermore, he had spoken the truth, but unfortunately, this truth caused Elder Qin and Patriarch Yao's faces to immediately darken. The two of them were furious. The other was to anger the head of the Cheng family for looking down on her. Wasn't it just a few snakes? What couldn't he beat? In Elder Qin's heart, the bloodline of the Phoenix clan was supreme. Therefore, she was full of confidence that as long as she used her bloodline to suppress them, these snakes would have to obediently kneel in front of her and bow their heads to listen to her orders. Therefore, she was extremely disgusted with the kind advice of the Qing family head. Where's the head of the Yao family? He was angry that the old thing from the Qing family had ruined his good thing. Fuck. I can't afford to hire you, but someone is willing to take the initiative to help, and you actually want to destroy it. What kind of person are you? The more the head of the Yao family thought about it, the angrier he became. If it wasn't for the fact that the occasion wasn't right, he would have taught this old man a harsh lesson. However, he was still angry in his heart. He also knew that he couldn't open his mouth to argue with the Qing clan's damned old man right now, otherwise, it would cause the majority of people to feel disgusted. Thus, after thinking for a moment, he put on a pitiful appearance and said to Elder Qin with a difficult expression, "Elder Qin, Elder Cheng's words aren't without reason. You see, of course, this wasn't the patriarch's true thoughts, but rather his intention to play hard to get." He deliberately only said half of the sentence, and the latter half was left to Elder Qin to imagine. As expected, Elder Qin's face immediately darkened as soon as Patriarch Yao finished speaking. She unhappily said, "Patriarch Yao, are you looking down on me?" "Humph. It's just a few little snakes, I don't care about them." When Elder Qin said this, the haughty aura in his eyes was enough to make people look up to him. No. It wasn't he. How could I look down on Elder Qin? I just think that the Cheng family head's words make sense. I've fought with these snakes before, and they are indeed powerful. That's why I wanted to remind Elder Qin. As soon as Elder Qin finished speaking, the Yao family's patriarch immediately explained eagerly, as if he was afraid that she would misunderstand. Thanks. Hearing this, Elder Qin's expression became much better. Then, he raised his aura and said sternly, after hearing what Patriarch Yao said, I'm even more interested in competing with these little snakes. After saying that, Elder Qin didn't wait for the Yao family head's reaction and flew straight into the sky with a swoosh and looked at those snakes. Immediately after, Elder Qin transformed back into her original form. In an instant, a huge fiery red phoenix appeared in the sky and circled around. The phoenix's body was burning with scorching flames, and the moisture in the air was instantly sucked dry. When everyone saw this, they couldn't help but take a few steps back. In their hearts, they were all complaining in unison. It was really too hot. The temperature was not low to begin with, and now that the old phoenix had done this, they couldn't stand it anymore. However, seeing this scene, the head of the Yao family smiled in his heart. Hee hee. This phoenix was really smart. The patriarch of the Yao family was extremely pleased with himself. He couldn't help but glance at the other 5 elders from the phoenix race, white tiger race, and dragon race from the corner of his eyes. If they were as proactive as Elder Qin, how great would that be? However, he naturally couldn't take the initiative to say this. In his words, the beast race were all proud. How could they be easily controlled by humans? But the truth was that the Yao family didn't have much money and couldn't afford to bleed. Therefore, he could only open the net and wait for these people to jump in. Quickly come to the internet. Hurry up and be his free hatchet man. The head of the Yao family was shouting in his heart, and the excitement on his face was almost impossible to hide. Old man Ning, look at how old man Yao got his way. Not used to the pretentious look of the Yao family head, the Qing family head complained to the Ning family head in a low voice with a look of disdain. Calm down. Let's just watch the battle, who cares who did it? The master of the Ning family said calmly. In fact, he was well aware that no matter who helped the old man of the Yao family, they would not have a good end. At this moment, Elder Qin, who had transformed into his true form and soared in the sky a few times, was also almost done with his smugness. Then, it immediately released its own pressure, wanting to use this to trample these tiny snake-type beasts under its feet. Among beasts, sometimes, what was important was not strength, but the pressure of the bloodline. Among beasts of the same level, there was no doubt that the one with the noblest bloodline would win. If the difference between the two wasn't too big, the one with the noblest bloodline could rely on the suppression of the bloodline to win, even if it was weaker. Of course, the probability of this was only about 50%. However, this 50% was enough for the beasts with noble bloodlines. If the difference between the two was too great, the one with the noble bloodline might not be able to cause much damage to the other party, but it would still affect the other's heart. Moreover, with their background and status, there were not many beasts who dared to provoke them. Most of the time, many beast clans would give face to the 4 divine beast kings and not dare to offend them easily. Otherwise, those unlucky beasts would probably receive the revenge of the entire clan. None of the beast tribes could bear such a result. It's precisely because he knows this that Elder Qin doesn't take the snakes in front of him seriously. Moreover, he's used to being arrogant, so he sees these snakes as ants. Chapter 2287 Face Slapping 2. Under its pressure, many of the snakes revealed an indescribable painful expression. Cold sweat trickled down their bodies, and their bodies even trembled slightly. Seeing this, Elder Qin became more and more proud. However, after observing for a while, he gloomily discovered that although these snakes were afraid, they didn't retreat. This isn't right. It shouldn't be. This result was completely out of Elder Qin's expectations. Therefore, the impatient Elder Qin was somewhat unsettled and repeatedly increased his pressure. After a while, Elder Qin heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that the snakes finally showed fear. But the next second, it was dumbfounded again. That was because the giant red snake that had been looking at it coldly glanced at it disdainfully. Without saying a word, it protected the snakes under its wings. The red transparent film that protected the snakes stung Elder Qin's eyes. He was furious. Fuck. How did this snake do it? He was actually not afraid of its pressure. In addition, was this a barrier? This was the first time it had seen a red barrier. Moreover, after the group of snakes had been gathered under the wings of the giant red snake, their expressions had clearly become more cheerful. This fact made it very unhappy. Damn it! I won't let you off. Elder Qin was furious. The consequences were severe. Everyone could only see a ball of fire pouncing towards the giant red snake. Then, the ball of fire and the giant red snake entangled together. Soon, the giant red snake was surrounded by the scorching flames. The giant red snake's voice could be heard from the flames from time to time, "Fuck. I'm so hot." Upon hearing this, everyone was speechless. They thought to themselves, it would be strange if they weren't hot. The Phoenix clan won with fire. This fire was their greatest trump card. If the temperature was normal, the Phoenix clan would not have been able to dominate the divine realm for so many years. With the mentality of watching a show, everyone felt a lot of sympathy for the giant red snake. On the other hand, the head of the Chen clan was truly worried about the huge red snake. After all, they had a very pleasant deal before. This snake had given him more face than old man Yao. Therefore, whether it was emotionally or rationally, he did not wish for these snakes to lose. Otherwise, wouldn't it be too easy for old man Yao? That was something he did not want to see. Therefore, he did not hesitate to curse the old witch to lose. Not long after this thought appeared in his mind, everyone saw countless fiery red meteors falling from the sky. This scene left everyone puzzled. It's broad daylight, why is there a meteor shower? With this doubt, everyone continued to watch the battle. At this moment, the great elder beside Len Ruoxue tugged at her sleeve and could not help but ask, "The Phoenix clan's flame is very powerful, will Xiaohua be alright? Can it withstand it?" Don't worry. Xiaohua will be fine." Len Ruoxue gave First Elder a consoling look, and First Elder finally felt at ease. After that, everyone couldn't help but whisper to each other because the meteor shower was increasing in number, especially the area where the huge flame was the densest. From time to time, it would be accompanied by a few painful screams. Seeing this, everyone finally understood that the meteor shower had come from the flame. Ugh! What was this situation? Thanks, everyone's curiosity was piqued, and they stared at the fire even more intently. After a long time, the people present saw that the huge flame in the sky had finally been extinguished. A huge white object fell from the sky and fell to the ground. Everyone's attention was immediately attracted. With one look, everyone couldn't help but gasp. Wasn't this a giant bird? Elder Qin. The bird was bald from head to toe. Its beautiful feathers that were burning with flames had long disappeared without a trace. However, the phoenix's appearance could still be seen. At this time, the phoenix's eyes were closed and it lay motionless on the ground. Such a scene stunned everyone present. For a long time, they couldn't react. Even the three families that were king divine beasts were stunned on the spot because they had received a big shock. By the time they reacted, the pitiful Elder Qin had already been seen by the people present. As for the giant red snake, it was still hovering in the sky, unscathed, showing off its might. Damn it! Xiaohua's eye-piercing action made the other elder of the Phoenix clan gnash his teeth in hatred. Although her relationship with Elder Qin wasn't that harmonious, she couldn't tolerate the fact that Elder Qin had disgraced the entire Phoenix clan. Therefore, without even thinking, she immediately rushed into the sky and confronted Lil Fire. "How dare you attack an elder of my Phoenix clan?" The elder of the Phoenix clan narrowed his phoenix eyes and said coldly, "Little Firebird, are you shooting after the horse? You're only saying this now that I've already made my move. Is there any use?" Lil Fire coldly said as it lightly glanced at the human-shaped phoenix in front of it. It was too lazy to even lift its eyelids. "Humph. Don't quibble, just wait for the revenge of my Phoenix clan." The Phoenix race's elder spoke in a vicious tone. After that, she turned to the four elders of the White Tiger race and Dragon race. "Why aren't you guys coming to help? Are you going to watch us 4 King Divine Beast clans get bullied? Upon hearing these words and seeing how the Phoenix Elder had once again elevated the matter to the level of their own race, the 4 elders from the White Tiger race and Dragon race who initially didn't want to step out could only brace themselves and step out from the crowd of spectators. They floated in mid-air beside the Phoenix Elder. Seeing this, Fiery was dissatisfied. Yo! You even found a helper. Fiery said with a look of disdain. You have more helpers than I do. The elder of the Phoenix tribe pointed at the group of snakes behind Xiaohua. That's true. However, they can't help much in a battle with you. Looks like you'll have to look for other helpers. Lil Fire shook his head as he muttered to himself. As soon as its voice fell, a snow-white kitten appeared beside Lil Fire. Don't be afraid, it'll be your helper. The little kitten said with a smirk. Hee hee. I can't ask for more. Seeing Azure, Fiery was happy. Originally, it wanted to borrow a few people from the woman, but it didn't expect Boss Tsang to actually volunteer to fight. Who was it afraid of? When the crowd saw the kitten that was not even the size of an adult's palm, they could not help but laugh, especially the 5 King Divine Beast clan elders, who laughed the loudest. However, Tsang couldn't be bothered to even roll his eyes. The patriarch of the Yao family was also very excited. With a teleport, he also ran to the side of the 5 elders to join in the fun. If he didn't stand out now, what was he waiting for? It would not be good for the Yao family if they were to anger these divine beasts. Chapter 2288, Face Slapping, 3. Seeing that the Yao family's patriarch was also ready to fight, Tsang didn't say anything and directly stretched out his fluffy little white claws. He looked at the 6 people in front of him and counted, 1, 2. 6 against 2. Aren't you bullying us? What can we do? Who asked him to be a king of the Divine Beast clan? Oh right, there's also the head of the Yao family, the leader of the 8 divine domains. Lil Fire's voice was filled with faint sorrow, but its face was very disapproving. I see. Who else wants to come up and help? It's more lively with more people. Tsang thought for a moment and said to the crowd. Upon hearing this, those who didn't want to get involved took a big step back, while those who reacted slower were left at the most conspicuous place. You guys can come up. When Tsang saw this, he pointed to those very conspicuous people. Ah. I'm not fighting. When someone heard this, he quickly responded. With someone taking the lead, most of the people retreated. However, the Yao family didn't dare to retreat like the others. It was obvious that the Yao family didn't have many people that they could take out. Elder Yao Jiu was left behind to keep watch, while a few Yao family sinecures with decent strength braced themselves and joined the battle. In just a few minutes, the number of people on the Yao family head side had reached nearly 20. Seeing this situation, First Elder was worried again. Girl, why don't we go up and help too? First Elder said after some thought. Help the Yao family? Leng Ruoshua blinked her beautiful eyes and asked indifferently. Ah. Why would he help the Yao family? First Elder was speechless. Bad girl, she was clearly doing this on purpose. If we're not going to help the Yao family, why are we going up? Are we going to let people say that we're bullying them? Leng Ruoshua replied with a smile. They have so many people, yet they still say we're bullying them. Is there any justice in this world? If we're talking about bullying, then they're the ones bullying us. The First Elder said angrily. It wasn't the first day that he realized the shamelessness of the Yao family's old man. What's there to be afraid of? Fighting still depends on combat power. Look at those people, except for the head of the Yao family, how many of them have enough combat power? Besides, you've forgotten that Xiaohua can clone himself. Leng Ruoshua reminded. Speaking of Zaihu's cloning technique, Leng Ruoshua felt a little depressed. That was because that little fellow had actually told her that he did not know why he could clone himself and how many he could clone himself. Therefore, it was as good as not saying anything. Xiaohua was completely confused. Leng Ruoxue had just recalled Xiaohu's clone technique when everyone saw Xiaohu split into two. Furthermore, the two snakes were exactly the same in size and thickness. The two giant red snakes simultaneously cast a charming glance at the Yao family's patriarch and said with great enthusiasm, "Old man Yao, we meet again." These words immediately caused the Yao family head's face to change. Fuck. He had not forgotten how he had been toyed with by these two snakes. Then, he sent a message to the people around him, telling them to be careful of the two snakes. The two elders of the dragon clan narrowed their eyes and examined the two identical snakes in front of them after receiving the message from the Yao family head. They didn't expect that this giant red snake had such an ability, and obviously, this snake was not afraid of their coercion. It was estimated that it was a beast of the same bloodline as them. However, it was also because of this that they had doubts about Xiaohu's identity. Although the bloodlines of the four great king divine beasts were the noblest among the divine realm's magical beasts, this did not mean that no other beast's bloodline could compare to them. For example, the bloodlines of some magical beasts that were doted upon by the heavens and earth were not inferior to them. However, the number of these magical beasts was usually very small, and the number of clansmen could be counted with two hands. Moreover, the inheritances of these magical beasts would often be lacking. Thus, in the divine realm, these clansmen were very rare, and the magical beasts that had the same noble bloodline as them could not be their opponents. Otherwise, the divine realm would not only have the four great king-level divine beasts. However, these circumstances were considered secrets in the beast clan. Not many people knew about it. Only by becoming an elder of a clan would one have the opportunity to learn about this. Therefore, the 5 elders of the beast clan quickly associated Lil, fire with a certain beast clan with a rare race and noble bloodline. However, they weren't completely sure, because as far as they could remember, there didn't seem to be any snakes in that kind of beast clan. With this in mind, the 5 beast elders became more and more cautious. One of the dragon elders even asked about Xiaohu's situation. "What kind of snake are you? How come I've never seen him before?" The dragon elder could not help but ask. "Have you seen all kinds of snakes?" Xiaohu didn't answer and asked instead. "That's not it." The dragon elder was very honest. "Thanks, since that's the case, why are you still asking? I'm the type that you've never seen before." Lil, fire said righteously, not caring in the slightest that his words would anger the other party half to death. When the other party heard this, his face turned red with anger. When Leng Ruoxue saw this, she could not help but laugh in her heart. She discovered that after being with her for a long time, the beasts seemed to have learned to speak with sharp tongues. However, she would never admit that they had learned it from her. She didn't teach these little guys bad things. However, she couldn't deny that she felt a sense of accomplishment when she saw her own beasties infuriate their opponents half to death. This was more like her beasts. Leng Ruoxue thought to herself proudly. At this moment, a dragon's roar suddenly rang out beside her ear. She couldn't help but raise her head and see that the dragon clan's elder who had spoken earlier had already transformed into his true form. He was glaring at Xiaohu with eyes that were spewing fire. However, he was still rational and didn't rush forward immediately. On the contrary, he had a very vigilant expression. When Fiery saw the situation, he revealed his sharp teeth as he smiled and said, "It looks like you want to fight me. Come on. I'll let you pay for my power." After he finished speaking, Fiery did not move. Instead, he passively waited for the opponent to attack. However, for some reason, that dragon clan elder actually did not attack as quickly as Fiery had expected. This situation made Fiery a little depressed. Should they fight or not? Did they set up a formation just to scare the snake? Xiaohu secretly cursed, cursing all 8 generations of the dragon clan's ancestors in his heart. AI. Since you're not going to make the first move, I'll have to do it myself. Actions speak louder than words. The moment this thought appeared in his mind, Fiery made his move. A thick and strong snake tail swept towards the dragon clan's elder who had transformed into his true form with an imposing manner that could swallow the sky. Of course, it didn't let go of the Yao family's head and the others who were very close to this dragon clan's elder. Instead, it attacked them in passing. Those who reacted slowly were hit by its snake tail and fell straight down. The dragon tribe elder who had dodged the snake tail's attack dodged to the side and continued to stare at Xiaohua with a pair of eyes filled with fear. Damn it! What was this thing? The dragon elder still felt a lingering fear when he thought of the terrifying pressure just now. While its heart was still pounding, the other giant red snake made its move. This time, the dragon elder was clearly not mentally prepared, so in just a moment, his huge dragon body was split open by the snake's thick and powerful tail. Hot blood flowed down from the cracks in his skin. At this moment, someone shouted, "Dragon blood! Don't waste it, everyone, pick it up quickly." Upon hearing this, the dragon elder almost died of anger. You can't do this. It was injured and there was no one to comfort it, but how could they add insult to injury and want to collect its blood? However, his words just now had obviously made everyone present go crazy. Some were looking for tools, and some were taking out tools. For a moment, the battle circle below became lively. At this time, no one would have thought that the person they were going to receive blood from was an elder of the dragon clan. They were so excited that they couldn't care less about their fear. After all, this opportunity was too rare. Dragon blood. That was dragon blood. Who wouldn't go crazy for the opportunity to collect dragon blood for free? Even the ninth elder of the Yao family gave his subordinates a look, telling them to act according to the situation and collect some dragon blood when they had the opportunity, let alone others. They really collected them without any consideration. The people below were in high spirits, and Lil, fire in the sky naturally wouldn't let go of this rare opportunity, because it knew that women would sometimes use dragon blood. Hence, it had to collect some for Leng Ruoxue. He took out a small white jade bottle and walked to the dragon elder with a smile. He looked like a big bad wolf looking at Little Red Riding Hood and said to the injured and angry dragon, "Little dragon, be good and give me some blood. Don't resist, because resistance is useless. You'd better obediently follow me." After Lil, fire finished speaking, its thick long tail curled and tied up that unlucky giant dragon. Then, it accepted the dragon's blood graciously. All the movements were as smooth as floating clouds in flowing water. The dragon couldn't react in time and was tied up firmly. Moreover, no matter how it struggled, Xiaohua didn't move at all. Seeing this, the head of the Yao family and the others were about to step forward to help, but they were stopped by another small fire. "You can't go over now. Wait for us to finish collecting the dragon's blood," the other giant red snake said with a smirk. At the same time, it began to size up the other dragon elder with its sparkling eyes. It was as if it had seen a supreme-grade crystal mine. The elder of the dragon clan, who was being sized up by the dragon, was so angry that his face turned pale. However, he did not dare to act rashly because he did not want to be accepted by someone in public. That would be too embarrassing, right? Especially when he heard the old dragon, who had received dragon blood, wailing in grief and indignation, his little heart trembled non-stop. How detestable! It was really too detestable. He had never seen such a detestable snake. What did its actions put the dragon clan in? This was a slap in the face. Chapter 2289, It was a tragic sight. 1. The dragon elder was roaring in his heart. However, his intelligence was not as low as Elder Qin's. He could tell that the snake in front of him was not weaker than him, and might even be stronger. Thus, after thinking for a moment, he transmitted a message to the other four and planned to invite them to deal with this snake together. As for the others, he really didn't care about them. Those people could only be cannon fodder. The four of them, including the head of the Yao family, couldn't refuse the voice transmission. After all, this concerned the honor of the beast race and the Yao family. The head of the Yao family had long been eager to deal with these two detestable snakes, so when he heard this request, he was naturally more than happy to do so. Because he couldn't forget the humiliation these two snakes had once given him. After the 5 of them finished their discussion, the 4 human-shaped beasts transformed into their huge forms and surrounded the giant red snake that was blocking the dragon clan's elder. In an instant, the dragon's roar, phoenix's roar, and tiger's roar sounded continuously. The 4 beasts looked at the giant red snake with eyes filled with determination and ruthlessness. The Yao family's head stood behind them, ready to support them at any time, and take advantage of any opportunity. When the giant red snake saw this scene, not only did it not show any fear, but the corners of its mouth pulled up into a faint smile, and it teased, "Yo! Get ready for a gang fight. Hee hee. I love gang fights. Boss, let's gang up and beat up these little bastards." The latter part of the sentence was what Lil Fire said to Azure. Azure was also very cooperative, smiling, "All right. However, these little bastards aren't enough to fill the gaps between my teeth." The dragons, phoenixes, and white tigers who had noble bloodlines trembled in anger, and their faces turned green, then white, and finally black. Not to mention the dragons and phoenixes who were already burning with anger, even the snow-white fur of the white tigers turned pink from anger. "Damn it! Who are you calling a little bastard? You're the little bastards, your whole family is." The other elder of the Phoenix tribe was also very impulsive. Therefore, he was the first one to curse out loud, unable to bear the humiliation. "Hee hee. Whoever loses is a little bastard, so what?" Azure's smile was very punchable as his bright eyes kept sizing up the 4 beasts while muttering, "Oh. This fur is not bad. Nyo should like it, right? This dragon's skin is also not bad, it'll peel it off for Nyo to use in refining." As it talked to itself, it sized up the few beasts who were so angry that their bodies were on fire, and their little hearts couldn't help but tremble again. "Fuck. Why does this damn cat's eyes make me so uncomfortable?" Although they didn't believe the cat's words and didn't think that it could skin them, its words were really hateful. Therefore, for a moment, the 4 beasts' eyes were all focused on the little snow-white cat in front of them, and the giant red snake was ignored. However, the giant red snake didn't care about this kind of disregard. Instead, it excitedly turned its attention to the head of the Yao family who was hiding behind the 4 mythical beasts. Of course, the head of the Yao family didn't know about the giant red snake's slightly disdainful thoughts. Otherwise, he would definitely cry out that he was wronged because he didn't hide. This was their strategy, okay? But now, no one wanted to listen to his explanation. Almost everyone's eyes were attracted by the snowy white kitten who was fighting against 4 people. Everyone was surprised. Was this little kitten ignorant and fearless? Otherwise, why would he dare to challenge the 4 great divine beasts with noble bloodlines? In everyone's eyes, this was clearly the rhythm of seeking death. Thanks, however, no one knew if this little kitten was really looking for death. Moreover, no one could answer their doubts. Next, their eyes were all attracted by the screams. It was the dragon that was tied up by Lil Fire that let out the cry. Xiaohua felt that the other party was bleeding too slowly. It took out a dagger from somewhere and ruthlessly stabbed countless holes in the unlucky dragon's body. Then, it also took out a few more white jade bottles and continued to collect the dragon's blood as if no one was around. When the crowd saw this, they deeply sympathized with this arrogant dragon elder. Watch. No matter if it was a human or a beast, they couldn't be too smug. Great, now they had received their retribution, right? Although they sympathized with them, they were still gloating over their misfortune. Moreover, many people held grudges. They clearly remembered how these divine beasts had ignored them. Therefore, they naturally felt both sympathy and hatred in their hearts. These 2 conflicting feelings also made many people feel conflicted. At this time, Lil Fire also felt that everyone's eyes were focused on him again. He hurriedly put on a posture that he thought was cool and imposing, and even grinned at everyone, which immediately scared many people into cold sweat. Oh my God! This smile was really horrifying. No matter how they looked at it, they felt that it was Grandmother Wolf's smile and that she didn't have a good heart. Therefore, out of fear of Little Fire, most people quietly took a big step back. Seeing this, Fiery was depressed. He even started to reflect on his own problems. Could it be that he wasn't handsome enough? That's not right. It didn't beat up the innocent. Lil Fire couldn't help but secretly say aggrievedly, and the gaze he used to look at everyone also became bitter. However, it didn't stop taking the dragon's blood at all. When the unlucky dragon that had its blood drained fainted from losing too much blood, Fiery threw it down from the air with a look of disgust. With a bang, the dragon elder smashed a 10-meter deep hole in the ground in front of the inn. Dust flew up and everyone coughed. Then, they took a few steps back until they had nowhere to go. If they wanted to retreat, they would have to go back to the inn. The crowd was addicted to watching the show, so naturally, they were not willing to let go of this good show. However, if such a behemoth fell from the sky from time to time, it would pose a certain threat to their lives, so they couldn't help but be conflicted. But how could Lil Fire care so much? After collecting the blood of one dragon, it turned its attention to another dragon and said to Tsang with a smile, "Boss, let that dragon over." When Azure heard this, he nodded his head. When the dragon elder heard this, he was about to flare up when he realized that he couldn't move. Then, a white light flashed in front of him, and in the next second, he was tied up by a thick red snake tail. The elder of the dragon tribe was shocked. Fuck! How did this happen? It didn't even have time to react before it became a prisoner. How was this possible? This fact was a huge blow to the dragon tribe elder who was about to meet with misfortune. This process was a huge blow to the onlookers. The main thing was that they didn't see anyone make a move at all, and that old dragon became someone else's captive. How could they, who were just onlookers, accept such an outcome? Chapter 2290, It was a tragic sight, too, Awu. Suddenly, everyone heard an extremely tragic dragon roar. This time, they didn't even need to raise their heads to guess what kind of treatment the old dragon had received. Instantly, their hearts quivered. It was better to just watch the show and not get involved in their battle. They didn't have as thick a skin as the dragon race, and they couldn't stand such a torment. With this thought in mind, the onlookers immediately quieted down. They wished they could turn invisible at this time. Otherwise, they would be the unlucky ones if they were targeted by the two snakes and the cat. Old Man Ning, I kind of pity these divine beasts. I wonder what kind of reaction their clan will have if they find out. I'm actually looking forward to it. At this time, the master of the Qing family couldn't help but whisper to the master of the Ning family beside him. Hearing this, the master of the Ning family laughed and said, "Don't worry, you will know their reaction. However, I believe that the peaceful days of the divine realm will be gone forever." Ah. It seems that I have to make early preparations. The head of the Qing clan stroked his chin and said seriously. Prepare well. The days to come will be lively. Master Ning smirked. Then, he turned to look in Leng Ruoxu's direction without saying anything. At this moment, the White Tiger Race's elder who had witnessed the tragic end of the two Dragon Race's elders finally couldn't take it anymore and growled in a low voice, "You! How dare you do this to us, the four king divine beasts?" Although it didn't really want to meddle in the affairs of the Dragon Tribe's elders, it knew that if it didn't speak up for the Dragon Tribe now, they would probably be the next ones to receive such treatment. It didn't forget that this abominable cat was still thinking about their snow-white fur. "So what if I've treated you like this? Why don't you come and bite me?" Sang Chi said angrily. As he spoke, he played with his tail. The three godly beasts in front of him gritted their teeth and couldn't wait to tear him into pieces. Of course, they could only think about this in their hearts. It wasn't that they didn't want to do that, but they were a little afraid. In their eyes, Tsang wasn't even as big as one of their claws. However, this small and exquisite cat had ignored them and wasn't afraid of them at all. This made them wary. Moreover, the remaining three beasts knew very well that the white light was this cat. However, it was too fast and could not see clearly. However, the Dragon Tribe elder had fallen into the hands of the other party and did not even have time to react. The little white cat's strength and speed made the three beasties very afraid. They really couldn't figure out what breed this cat was. It seemed that there was no such cat in the divine realm. This giant red snake and this little white cat caused the beastie to rack their brains, but they still couldn't figure out their true identities. The only thing they could be sure of was that the other party was not afraid of their pressure. Just this point alone made them lose their advantage. However, Tsang would not give them too much time to think. Moreover, before Tsang attacked, he wouldn't give a notification or anything. Therefore, with a few more white lights, the three beastie also couldn't react in time and directly fell from the sky. The place they fell was the big pit that the unlucky dragon had smashed out. With their participation, the area of the pit became bigger and deeper, causing the onlookers to have almost no place to stand, and many people were already floating in the air. Thanks suddenly, everyone heard a crack. Kacha! Then, many people looked down from above and saw that there were a few cracks in the ground starting from the big pit. The cracks spread very quickly. In just a few seconds, they had reached the entrance of the hotel. Then, there were a few more kacha sounds. The crack spread to the inn, and the entire inn collapsed in front of everyone. The inn had several floors. When it fell, it almost hit the onlookers who were a bit slow to react. Those people were all scared and broke out in cold sweat. Then, they all floated in the air. They couldn't help but think to themselves with a lingering fear that watching the fun was indeed life-threatening. As for the Yao family members, they didn't dare to say anything despite their anger. Following this, everyone heard Tsang say to the snakes, "You guys, go and collect some dragon scales, tiger skin, and phoenix feathers." Instantly, everyone broke out in cold sweat. Was this really plucking the feathers from the swallow? The dragon scales and phoenix feathers could be removed, at least they wouldn't hurt the dermis, but the tiger skin. Did that mean he was going to skin the tiger? Oh! How cruel! Skinning a tiger was definitely much more bloody than simply collecting dragon scales and phoenix feathers. For a time, everyone's sympathy for the White Tiger clan rose greatly. This time, they really sympathized with each other. I won't lie. However, even though they sympathized with the other party, they knew that this was not something they could stop. Therefore, they could only watch helplessly as the snakes, who had received the order, descended from the sky in high spirits. Then, dragon scales and phoenix feathers flew all over the sky. They really didn't see it. The entire group of snakes worked together, and very quickly, the dragon scales and phoenix feathers that were all over the ground were collected by them. The dragon and phoenix, who had been in a deep coma since they landed, did not wake up even after being ravaged by the snakes. From this, it could be seen that they were badly injured. After taking care of the dragon and phoenix, the leading snake curled its tail and carried the two huge white tigers on its body. Then, the snake specially explained to the onlookers, "Well, slowly peel off this tiger's skin when we get back. I won't let you guys watch anymore. Otherwise, it's not good if it's too bloody." When everyone heard this, they couldn't help but think in their hearts, it's not good to be too bloody. Weren't your actions just now brutal enough? Of course, they only dared to think about it in their hearts. They definitely did not dare to say it out loud in front of these savage beasts. Otherwise, they would definitely become one of these beasts. Moreover, everyone had to cooperate a little and said with a smile, "Hee hee. You guys do as you please." Hearing this, the snake leader was happy. Then, he shook his head and returned to Tsang's side with his subordinates. His pair of cold eyes directly stared at the Yao family's guardians. When the few consecrators saw this, they could not help but smile bitterly in their hearts. Woo, why did they have ideas about them? They didn't dare to make a move. The few of them revealed pitiful expressions. When the snake leader saw this, he said with a look of disdain, "Even if you surrender now, it's too late. However, we won't deal with you right now. Just wait to collect the body of the Yao family head." Everyone was shocked by this. The Yao family head's face turned green with anger. "Damn it! What did you just say?" The Yao family head's furious roar resounded through the heavens and earth. Chapter 2291, It was a terrible sight. 3. However, with someone backing him up, the great snake leader was no longer afraid of him. The great snake leader let out a wretched smile and said, I said you're dead. Your Yao family is finished. It was very satisfying to say these words, and after it finished, it even laughed wildly. When the Yao family head heard this, he was furious. Without thinking, he directly rushed towards the leading snake. However, he was stopped halfway by a small cat. Move! He shouted. The head of the Yao family suppressed his anger and narrowed his eyes. He knew that this cat was not to be trifled with, so he naturally did not want to fight it easily. Especially when he had no external help, he was even more reluctant to fight this kitten directly. I won T. If I let you go just because you told me to, I'd lose face. Sung laughed as he indifferently said. You really want to meddle in this? The head of the Yao clan asked angrily. How can this be a matter of no concern? These snakes are my little brothers. If I don't care, who will? Azure said matter-of-factly, then it added, if you're afraid that you can't win, you can also find someone to help. I don't mind. Ask for help. Who else could he look for now? When the head of the Yao family heard this, he really turned around to look for the crowd. However, he couldn't find the figure of the head of the Ning family and the others in the crowd. Not to mention that they had disappeared, even the representatives of several major forces had disappeared without a trace. This fact made the anger in the head of the Yao family's heart instantly rise to the top of his head. How detestable! After watching enough, he actually ran away. The head of the Yao family was filled with hatred, but he didn't want to lose face. Although he was also afraid of this cat, he didn't want to be looked down upon by it. So, after thinking for a while, he came up with an excuse and said to the others, everyone, these beasts are too despicable. As a member of the human race, we can't let them humiliate us like this. We have to fight for the dignity of the human race, so let's teach them a good lesson together. Although his words were a little emotional and raised this matter to the height of the human race, no one present was willing to respond to him. After all, no one was a fool. This matter was obviously your Yao family's matter, what did it have to do with the human race? Therefore, after hearing his words, everyone looked up at the sky in unison and ignored him. Seeing this, the head of the Yao family became even angrier. At the same time, the master of the Ning family and the others had already run to the next street and were observing the situation here through their divine sense. At this time, the Yao family's old man had no time to care about using his divine sense, so they were very happy to watch. Hee hee. Old man Ning, you were right, this old man is really shameless. He actually wanted to use others. It's a good thing we ran away quickly, otherwise, it wouldn't have been easy to refuse. The head of the Chen clan said with a look of relief. Who asked them to be people with status? Sometimes, he just couldn't help it. The Yao family's head wouldn't have really fallen, right? If he really dies, it'll be so boring. At this moment, the master of the Yin family couldn't help but say. You guys are thinking too much. Hearing the words of these two, the master of the Ning family sighed. He had just contacted Shuai and knew that Sung wouldn't kill the old man of the Yao family so easily. At most, he would just make him lose face and make a fool of himself. When he thought of this, he couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. He really didn't dare to imagine what kind of embarrassment the old man of the Yao clan would make. With Yu Tsung's help, everything was possible. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but look forward to it. However, when he saw the embarrassment that the Yao family's old man had caused, he couldn't help but sympathize with that fellow from the bottom of his heart. To an expert, death was not scary. What was terrifying was that he would rather die. Although the treatment of the Yao family's old man was not to the point where he would rather die, he had lost all his face. The head of the Yao family had left. Not only was he exposed, but he was also tied up by that evil Tsung in a position that made one's imagination run wild and hung in the air. When the master of the Ning family saw this scene through his divine sense, his jaw almost dropped. Although this scene was familiar to him, it had never been as evil as Tsang's. This was shocking. The Yao family head's alluring posture also made him hear the sound of everyone swallowing their saliva. This was really. He was speechless. He didn't know how to describe his current mood. The Qing family's head and the others, who weren't mentally prepared, were directly stunned by this scene and couldn't come back to their senses for a long time. From this, it could be seen how much stimulation this scene had on them. But the one who received the greatest shock was the head of the Yao family. Thanks, the head of the Yao clan couldn't understand no matter how hard he thought. How could this be? He had only exchanged 2 moves with this cat, how could he have been captured? To be honest, he didn't even know how he was captured alive. By the time he realized it, he had already become the other party's prisoner. The hateful cat even used its sharp claws to cut open his clothes, causing him to be naked in front of everyone. That was not all, but after the cat cut open his clothes, it tied his limbs up and whipped him. All of this made the head of the Yao family feel deeply humiliated. Fuck. He had always been the one to treat others this way, but now it was his turn to be treated this way. The head of the Yao family was so embarrassed and angry that he wanted to faint, but he was still very energetic. This feeling made him even more resentful. Is the head of the Yao family very happy? At this moment, Leng Ruoxue, who had been hiding in the crowd, could not help but ask softly. The moment the old man's clothes were taken off, her eyes were covered by the demon. However, when she heard the pained moans by her ears, she could not help but judge that the head of the Yao family probably liked to be treated this way. Not happy. That old man wants to commit suicide. When he heard Leng Ruoxue's words, the demon gritted his teeth and replied. That damned Song, why did he do such a thing in public? Wasn't he trying to lead Shuai astray? Ah. Really? Leng Ruoxue asked in disbelief. Dongfang Lin, who received the warning look from the demon, quickly replied, it's true. I can be a witness. Grand Elder, he didn't lie to me? Leng Ruoxue asked First Elder with a look of disbelief. It's true. The Great Elder had a bitter expression on his face. Under the devilish gaze, he braced himself and said, Wu, why did he have to be involved in such a matter? Dongfang Lin, who was not trusted by Leng Ruoxue, said pitifully, little girl, how can you not believe me? I'm such an honest and kind person, why would I lie to you? Dongfang Lin was very hurt by this. You're honest and kind? Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but laugh when she heard this. Isn't that the case? Dongfang Lin's eyes widened as he asked in disbelief. I didn't find anything. Leng Ruoxue was very honest. On the other hand, Dongfang Lin was depressed. Could it be that the honest and kind image that he had been trying to create all this time had not succeeded? However, before Dongfang Lin had the chance to think about it seriously, Leng Ruoxue said to the crowd, let's leave first. You're leaving just like that? The Great Elder blinked his eyes and couldn't help but ask. Sung's group is too ruthless. We can't do anything here, so let's give the Yao family some time to recover. Well, come back later. Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. After she finished speaking, she pulled the evildoer's arm and the 2 of them turned to leave. When the others saw this, they quickly followed behind. Master Ning had received Leng Ruoxue's message and knew that they had left first. Hence, he found an excuse to break up with Master Cheng and the rest. When Sung saw Leng Ruoxue and the rest leave, he abandoned the Yao family head and the few unlucky beasts that had fainted a long time ago with a look of reluctance. He led the crowd and left in a carefree manner. Of course, before leaving, Xiaohua did not forget to give the Yao family's consecrators a good beating and also collected the dragon scales of the dragon it had tied up. The 2 white tigers were taken away by them, and as for the Yao family elders who were originally their prisoners, they were easily thrown to the ground this time. In Xiaohua's words, the Yao family had no money and it was a waste of food to raise these elders for nothing. Therefore, it was better to return them to the Yao family. Anyway, with their skills, they could naturally capture these elders at any time. There was no need to specially raise them. After Tsang and Xiaohua led the group of snakes and swaggered away, Elder Yao Jiu hurriedly ordered people to rescue the Yao family head and the few divine beasts who had suffered humiliation. At this time, the Yao family head had already fallen into a daze from shame and anger. Master! Master! Seeing this, Elder Yao Jiu hurriedly called out. However, the Yao family head still hadn't come back to his senses after a long while. Elder Yao Jiu was extremely worried and could only order people to carry the family head and the others back first. As for the rest, it was better to wait until the family head had regained consciousness before talking about it. The onlookers were also persuaded by Elder Yao's kind words and promised that they would not disclose any of these things. However, the next day, these things still spread out and quickly spread to the entire divine realm. For a time, the Yao family's divine territory became the focus of everyone's attention. 3 days later, the head of the Yao family finally returned to normal. However, the things that had happened before that had caused him to lose all his face made him hate Master Ning, Leng Ruoxue, and the others even more. Because he had blamed them for everything he had suffered. This was enough to show that the head of the Yao family was a person who couldn't distinguish right from wrong. Chapter 2292, Why Wouldn't I Dare to Appear? 1. Not only could he not tell right from wrong, but he also liked to distort the truth and slander others. And the reason why the head of the Yao family was like this was also greatly related to his selfish nature. Even though Leng Ruoxue and the rest were still unclear of the Yao family head's thoughts, even if they knew, they probably wouldn't care too much. Leng Ruoxue was someone who always thought of dealing with whatever came her way, so she wouldn't care what the Yao family head was up to. After resting for a few days, the head of the Yao family immediately went to find the elders of the dragon kind and the phoenix kind who were on the same side as him. Right now, these elders were recuperating in the guest house of the Yao family, and their injuries were definitely much more serious than his. Therefore, the head of the Yao family was very certain that they must hate those snakes to the bone. This was also a good opportunity for him to rope Leng Ruoxue in as an ally. Thinking of this, the head of the Yao family became excited. If he told those stupid mythical beasts that the snakes were in cahoots with Leng Ruoxue, it would definitely incite their hatred, right? At the same time, he would be able to get rid of Leng Ruoxue for him. This was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. The Yao family head's thoughts had put him in a good mood, so he felt a little lightheaded on his way to the guest courtyard. When he arrived at the guest house, he considerately went to greet the 4 elders of the Dragon clan and the Phoenix clan who were still in good condition. These people were badly injured. Even though they had taken healing pills, they couldn't recover so quickly. The feathers on the 2 elders of the Phoenix tribe had grown quite a lot, but the dragon scales on the 2 elders of the Dragon tribe wouldn't grow so soon. Therefore, the 2 elders looked very pale and weak. After the head of the Yao family greeted them with false feelings, he pretended to casually mention Leng Ruoxue. He even told the 4 of them that according to his investigation, those snakes had a great relationship with Leng Ruoxue and had come to the Yao family to cause trouble under her orders. The reason was that the Yao family had gathered all the factions to discuss Leng Ruoxue's matter, so Leng Ruoxue had come to take revenge. Even though he had framed Leng Ruoxue, he couldn't deny that he had been lucky and guessed some facts correctly. At this moment, the Yao family head would definitely not tell the 4 of them the real reason why the snakes had come to seek revenge. When the 4 of them heard this, they were furious. The 2 elders of the Phoenix clan even wanted to take revenge on Leng Ruoxue immediately. However, they were stopped by the Yao family head. The head of the Yao family consoled the agitated elder, "Please calm down, elders. Leng Ruoxue is just a little girl. It's not difficult to deal with her. If we want to deal with her, we can do it any time. The key issue now is Master Ning." "What does it have to do with Master Ning?" the 2 elders of the Phoenix tribe asked in confusion. "AI. You may not know this, but Leng Ruoxue is Master Ning's goddaughter. If we want to deal with her, we'll have to get past Master Ning first. Otherwise, with Master Ning blocking in front of the other forces, many forces will definitely not dare to step out." That's why I said that Master Ning is the key. The head of the Yao clan said with a conflicted and troubled expression. Thanks. As soon as he finished speaking, the 4 elders of the Phoenix and Dragon clans were stunned. They had heard that Leng Ruoxue had a close relationship with the master of the Ning family, but no one had taken it seriously. Now that the master of the Yao family had said so, this news must be true. For a moment, the 4 of them were deeply conflicted. If Leng Ruoxue was alone, they would have no problem dealing with her. Now that it involved the master of the Ning family, they had to treat it with caution. After all, Master Ning's status in the divinity was extraordinary. However, the 4 of them thought about it. No matter how powerful Master Ning was, he was only one person. Would Master Ning dare to make an enemy of the entire divinity because of Leng Ruoxue? Moreover, wasn't there still the Divine Lord's estate? The Divine Master's estate had issued an arrest warrant for Leng Ruoxue. With the Divine Master's estate's name, even if they were to deal with Leng Ruoxue, Master Ning would not dare to say anything. At the thought of this, the 4 of them felt relieved. They felt that Leng Ruoxue was not a big problem at all. The most important thing now was to restore their reputation. Otherwise, wouldn't the 4 great King Divine Beast clans become the laughingstock of others in the future? Right now, to them, the reputation of their race was above everything else. Hence, they had thrown the warning that their race was not allowed to participate in Leng Ruoxue's incident to the back of their minds and naturally stood on the same side as the Yao family head. After getting the 4 people's support, the Yao family's head's mood became better and better, and he found the 4 more and more pleasing to the eye. After exchanging a few more words with the 4, he left the guest courtyard. However, he didn't return to his room immediately after leaving the guest house where the 4 elders were staying. Instead, he went to the guest house where Jiang Ning was staying. The inn that Jiang Ning used to stay in had already collapsed. Therefore, although the accommodation in Jiangning was still the best compared to the other factions, it was not as good as it was before. However, Jiangning had shown his understanding of the Yao family, so he wasn't picky about where he was staying. With a heart full of gratitude, the head of the Yao family expressed his gratitude to Jiang Ning. Jiang Ning also cooperated and exchanged a few polite words. The 2 of them chatted for a while, and Jiang Ning even took the initiative to ask the reason why the head of the Yao family had come. When the head of the Yao family heard Jiang Ning's question, his face immediately turned awkward. Then, he replied in embarrassment, "I've come to ask Sir Jiang Ning to make a few healing pills for the 4 elders of the Phoenix and Dragon clans. They're too heavily injured, and they'll need high-grade healing pills to fully recover." A high-grade healing pill? Patriarch Yao, do you know how many precious materials are needed to make high-grade healing elixirs? Jiang Ning asked with a frown. In fact, he really wanted to ask, "Can you afford it?" However, the head of the Yao family had just suffered a huge blow, so he really couldn't bear to continue provoking this unlucky old man, so he could only ask very implicitly. "I know. I still have some materials on hand, which should be enough to make a few healing pills," the head of the Yao clan said after some hesitation. He had kept those materials for himself. However, in order to win over the 4 elders of the Dragon tribe and the Phoenix tribe, he had to give it his all. If the bait wasn't heavy enough, how could those 4 idiots be willing to work for him? This was called eating someone's hand. A few is not enough. If you want to make 4 healing pills, you have to prepare at least twice the amount, which is enough to make 8 healing pills. After all, you have to prepare the probability of failure. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that you'll be able to produce 4 pills with just the right materials. If there are only 2 pills, who will you give them to? After hearing the Yao family head's words, Jiang Ning reminded him with a faint smile. I'll think of a way. If I have prepared enough herbs, I'll come and find Sir Jiang Ning. The head of the Yao family pondered for a moment before replying. Chapter 2293, Why Wouldn't I Dare to Appear? 2. Sure, I'll be waiting for you at any time, Jiang Ning said with a smile as he sent the Yao family's head off. Just as he sent one of them off, he heard another knock on the door. He opened the door and saw Mo Yen and Ling Xiaoyu standing outside. The Yao family head is here. Mo Yen asked as he walked into the room. Then, he found a place to sit down. They're here. They asked me to help them refine a few healing pills for the four beasts. Jiang Ning replied honestly. You agree? Mo Yen raised his eyebrows and asked calmly. Why not? There's no reason for me to reject someone who's willing to give me medicinal herbs. Jiang Ning said with a smirk. AI. Poor Yao family head, you were just exploited a while ago, and now you're going to rob me again. Hearing this, Mo Yen sighed with sympathy. What? Jiang Ning raised his eyebrows and looked at Mo Yen, waiting for his answer. The Yao family was robbed by Master Ning and those snakes a while ago. Now, the Yao family's wealth should be empty. Mo Yen said with a smile, his handsome face full of gloating. How do you know? Didn't you decide not to contact Master Ning for the time being? Did you change your mind? Jiang Ning asked curiously. In order to show that he was on the side of justice, Mo Yen had said before he came that he would not contact Master Ning for the time being, in case others would find something to use against him and gossip about him. After arriving at the Yao family's main city, Mo Yen did as he said and turned a blind eye to Master Ning and the others, but now it seemed that he had contacted Master Ning. I didn't contact Master Ning openly. Well, only occasionally communicate through mental transmissions. Mo Yen said calmly. Oh. Do you have any news of Leng Ruoxue? Jiang Ning quickly asked. I didn't ask. Mo Yen said honestly. Why don't you ask? Jiang Ning glared at him and asked fiercely. What's the rush? When the matters here are settled, I will naturally bring you to see Shuai. So, calm down and wait quietly. Besides, it's so lively here now, isn't it enough for you to see? Don't think about Shuai for now. Mo Yen said with a serious expression. In reality, he didn't ask about Leng Ruoxue's news when he was contacting Master Ning. It really had something to do with Jiang Ning. If he asked, he and Ling Xiaoyu wouldn't be able to stay here any longer. In that case, Jiang Ning would definitely leave with them. At that time, who knew how that brat Leng Ruoxue would be robbed by Jiang Ning? So, for the safety of that girl's medicinal herbs, it was better for him not to know about her situation for the time being. It was more important to solve the problem here first. Otherwise, he and Xiaoyu would not be able to meet Leng Ruoxue in peace. Ah. What do you plan to do here? Jiang Ning couldn't help but ask. I don't know. I can't do anything about it. I can only take it one step at a time. At least, I have to know what Master Yao's plan is. Mo Yen said after thinking for a while. That old man will definitely gather everyone to condemn Leng Ruoxue. Of course, there are also those snakes. Jiang Ning understood. Thanks, when the time comes, I'll just do whatever I want. Mo Yen said helplessly. Jiang Ning nodded. 2 days later, the head of the Yao family came to visit once again. With a pained expression, he delivered the medicinal herbs that Jiang Ning needed. Jiang Ning examined the herbs and found that most of them were of high quality. There were also quite a few fresh herbs that were probably collected by the Yao family head in the past 2 days. After collecting the herbs, Jiang Ning told the Yao family head to come back to collect the pills in 3 days. Hearing this, the head of the Yao family knew that this was an order for him to leave, so he tactfully chose to leave. However, when he left, his heart was bleeding. Those medicinal herbs. This time, he had really exhausted all of the Yao family's assets. However, when he thought about how these pills would become the capital for the Beast clan to denounce Leng Ruoxue for him, he remained calm. 3 days passed by, and the head of the Yao family finally made it through. In fact, he had been on tenterhooks for the past 3 days, afraid that Jiang Ning would inform him that the refining of the healing pill had failed. If that happened, he would be so angry that he would vomit blood. Fortunately, the thing he was worried about did not happen. As promised, the head of the Yao family went to Jiang Ning's room and took the healing pills. He politely exchanged pleasantries with Jiang Ning and expressed his strong gratitude before he happily left the inn with the pills. After he left, Jiang Ning took out a storage ring and looked at the remaining herbs in it. He was in a good mood. He had earned quite a bit from refining pills for the Yao family head this time. There was an unspoken rule in the world of alchemists that if someone wanted to refine a pill, the medicinal herbs they prepared must be more than twice the number of pills they refined. The alchemist's alchemy fees could be included in these medicinal herbs or paid separately. However, additional payment was considered extra, and the meaning of it being included in the medicinal herbs also meant that as long as the alchemist could hand over a sufficient number of medicinal pills to the other party, it would be fine. As for how many medicinal herbs the alchemist used to refine these medicinal pills, it was the alchemist's own business. This was the method he used to make the deal with the head of the Yao family. In fact, for an alchemist of his status, even if he used this method to refine pills for the other party, he could also collect additional refining fees. However, out of sympathy for the unfortunate fate of the Yao family head, he very kindly waived the fee, and his behavior naturally won the gratitude of the Yao family head. As Jiang Ning thought of this, he couldn't help but feel proud. This time, not only did he give a huge favor to the Yao family head, but he also made a huge profit. It was really worth it. In fact, the head of the Yao family knew that Jiang Ning wouldn't be at a disadvantage. After all, with Jiang Ning's status, he didn't ask for much from him. Therefore, he was very grateful that Jiang Ning was willing to give him face. After taking the pills, the head of the Yao family couldn't wait to return to the Yao family's main residence. However, he had just left the inn when he was blocked by a giant red snake. "You still dare to appear?" Seeing the red snake, the anger in the Yao family's head instantly rose, but he still looked around cautiously from the corner of his eye. He was looking for the kitten that he hated even more. If the two of them joined forces, he had no chance of winning. After looking around and not finding any trace of the kitten, he calmed down a lot. Why would I not dare to appear? I'm not a rat that everyone wants to kill. Hee hee. Old man Yao, I heard that you asked someone to refine a few healing pills, give me a few. It just so happens that I've been having diarrhea recently, and I really need it. Fiery discussed with a smile. Hearing this, the head of the Yao family was even more furious. Fuck. If you're having diarrhea, then go to the toilet. What does it have to do with healing pills? Chapter 2294, Why wouldn't I dare to appear? 3. Besides, he had only managed to get 4 healing pills with great difficulty, so how could he let this snake that had a deep hatred for him benefit? At the thought of this, the head of the Yao family said angrily, Do you think that's possible? It's impossible. It seems like I can only snatch it. After Lil Fire heard the Yao family head's words, it appeared rather calm. However, the words it said almost made the Yao family head vomit blood. Fuck. How could this snake be so shameless? The head of the Yao family was filled with hatred. At this time, he would never have thought that in other people's eyes, he was also like this. Therefore, when he heard what Little Fire said, he could not accept it at all. Little Fire did not use much effort and it managed to draw out his anger. But before he could make a move, Fiery took the lead. The long and thick snake tail very nimbly swung towards the Yao family's head. The Yao family's head immediately turned pale with fright and quickly took 2 steps back, floating in the air. Fuck! How could this snake be so fast? The head of the Yao family was panting heavily. His eyes were wide open as he stared at Xiaohua vigilantly. At the same time, he had secretly sent a message to the 4 elders of the Phoenix clan and the Dragon clan, asking them to come and help. Although the 4 elders had not recovered from their injuries, they should still be able to deal with a snake together. No, it was 2. 5 people against 2 snakes should be enough, right? The head of the Yao family wasn't too sure, but he had to give it a try. Moreover, that detestable little kitten had yet to appear, so he felt that if his side wanted to take this opportunity to deal with this snake, they would still have the confidence. At the very least, they would have to keep the healing medicinal pill that he had obtained with great difficulty. As soon as the 4 elders of the Dragon Tribe and the Phoenix Tribe received Master Yao's message, they dragged their unhealed bodies and rushed over. Of course, they were all here for the freshly made healing pills. However, before they came, they still asked about the cat's condition very carefully. After knowing that the cat was not here, the 4 of them were completely relieved. The 4 elders rushed over, and the 5 of them quickly surrounded Xiaohua. Seeing this, Lil Fire did not show the slightest fear. After using the tip of its tail to scratch its huge head, it said helplessly, "What, are you guys planning to gang up on me again?" "Humph. So what if they ganged up on him?" "A demon like you, everyone in the divine realm knows about it." The head of the Yao family angrily said. "All right. Since you've said so, I won't be polite." After Xiaohua finished speaking, it immediately split into 2. However, this time, it was not just 1 snake, but 6. However, these 6 snakes were much weaker than the original 2 clones, and they were not as thick as before. Originally, when the 5 people of the Yao family saw the 6 snakes that looked exactly the same, they were shocked. Then, after seeing the strength of the 6 snakes, they were relieved. Elder Qin couldn't help but laugh wildly. He said with a mocking expression, "Humph. Do you think that you can gang up on us just because you have a few more clones? You really don't know your own strength." After saying this, Elder Qin made the first move. However, she did not transform into her true form this time. As such, the difference in strength between her and the red snake was not too great. When the others saw this, they also found a snake to attack, but no one went to find Fiery. Seeing this, Fiery was furious. "There's still me. Why isn't anyone fighting me?" Xiaohua roared in anger. Then, in a penny, in a pound, it directly set its eyes on the Yao family's head, and began to deal with the Yao family's head with one of its clones. When the head of the Yao family saw this, he was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Fuck! Why did this damn snake target him? However, even though he hated them, he still had to put in 120,000% of his energy and focus on dealing with the 2 snakes. As a reverent god-level cultivator, the Yao family head's strength was obvious to all. Therefore, he was still able to deal with the 2 little fires with ease. The reason why he was so relaxed this time was that little fire had split into 6 clones, which greatly reduced its strength. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to take advantage of it. Thanks after Xiaohua and his clone fought with the Yao family head for dozens of rounds, they didn't want to continue fighting with him. Therefore, Xiaohua gave a look to his clone and the 6 snakes slowly ended the battle with the other party and floated away. All that was left were the 5 dumbfounded family heads. They were still in a fighting position, but their opponents were gone. Not only were they not prepared, but they also felt a strong sense of loss. Damn it, how could this be? The 5 of them were stunned for a moment before they regained their senses. Then, they awkwardly lowered their raised arms and pretended as if nothing had happened. They looked at each other and quickly turned their heads away. "For elders, please quickly take the healing pills that I asked Sir Jiangning to refine for you. A long night may cause more trouble." After a long while, the head of the Yao family finally reacted and handed over the 4 pills. The 4 of them quickly took them. After all, they were also afraid. If the snake wasn't the only one who came this time, they might not be able to keep their healing pills. After taking the pills, the 4 of them were almost completely healed. They just needed to rest for 2 days and they would be fine. Therefore, after expressing their gratitude to the head of the Yao family, the 4 of them went to thank Jiangning. At the same time, Xiaohua also went back to the bottom of the cliff dejectedly. At the moment, they were still living there temporarily. Leng Ruoxue, who was playing with the little beasts at the bottom of the cliff, saw that Xiaohua had returned dejectedly. Her curiosity was piqued, and she could not help but ask, "Little Fire, what's wrong?" I've failed to steal the pill." Lil Fire burst into tears and turned into a stream of fiery red light, wrapping itself around Leng Ruoxue's jade-like wrist. Ah. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue didn't know what to say. Even though she wanted to comfort Lil, Fire, she still didn't quite understand the situation. What pill? Who did you rob? That old man from the Yao family, in order to treat the injuries of those 4 little insects and birds, specially asked someone to refine 4 very good healing pills. After I found out, I wanted to rob them, but I failed. Lil Fire looked at Leng Ruoxue with tears in its eyes and said pitifully. I see. After understanding the situation, Leng Ruoxue gently stroked Ziahu's head and consoled it. It doesn't matter. Victory and defeat are common in the military. After winning so many times, he had to give in to them no matter what. Otherwise, they won't play with you anymore. Who are you going to fight with? That's true. So, I was smart enough to only fight with them for a few dozen rounds before leaving. Hee hee. I have good foresight. As Lil Fire was talking, it suddenly laughed again. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue was rather speechless. So Xiaohuo wasn't sad at all. Then why was it crying? She had thought that little Fire had suffered a huge blow. However, she was relieved to see that Xiaohuo was fine. Following that, she couldn't help but turn her gaze to Azure and ask with a clear expression, Azure, you were the one who made Lil Fire go, right? And, what I mean is that I want to let the Yao family's old man know that it was not easy to obtain those medicinal pills. Otherwise, why would he treasure them? Azure laughed evilly. Then, he bounced towards the 2 white tigers who were tied up like rice dumplings and said with extreme sympathy, Aya. Those 2 poor little kittens. The Yao family's old man doesn't even have you in his heart. You've been missing for so long, and he didn't even think of coming to save you, he didn't even refine any healing pills for you. Tell me, how did you end up in such a miserable state? The 2 white tigers remained silent after hearing Tsang's words. Instead, they lowered their heads and did not even look at Tsang. However, Tsang did not care. He continued to mumble in their ears. In the end, the 2 white tigers could not take it anymore. They cried out and begged Tsang, Senior, please do a good deed and kill us. Don't torture us like this. When Tsang heard this, he pouted and said, in your dreams. After saying that, it left the 2 white tigers with a bored expression, and the 2 white tigers let out a sigh of relief as they wished. The 2 of them weren't afraid of becoming prisoners, what they were afraid of was Tsang's endless nagging in their ears. This was definitely mental abuse. The 2 white tigers secretly sighed with lingering fear. Then, they closed their eyes and pretended to be unconscious. Seeing this scene, Leng Ruoxue and the rest couldn't help but snicker. Such a scene would happen almost every day. If Tsang Yitian didn't mutter a few times in the ears of these 2 unlucky white tigers, he would feel uncomfortable all over. Of course, they wouldn't stop such a situation. Azure didn't mind that the 2 white tigers ignored him. In any case, he just had to say what he wanted to say. Another 2 days passed. The major forces living in the inn received the invitation from the head of the Yao family again. This time, the head of the Yao family invited them directly to his house. Because the Yao family still had some infectious patients, no one wanted to go. But after the Yao family repeatedly guaranteed that those people wouldn't cause any danger to them, the major forces could only bite the bullet and visit. However, before they headed to the Yao family, all the major powers went to Jiangning to buy some pills just in case. They bought some pills that could cure poison, and injuries. Jiangning even gave them a discount. Everyone was grateful, and Jiangning also made a lot of money. Sitting in the Yao family's living room, Jiangning couldn't even close his mouth. Seeing him like this, Mo Yen couldn't help but give him a disdainful look. Chapter 2295 Ling Xiaoyu's Question 1. However, Jiang Ning didn't think much of it. Instead, he smiled and said to Mo Yen in a low voice, the old man from the Yao family invited us here today to discuss Leng Ruoxue's matter. Have you thought about what you want to say? What do you mean? Mo Yen raised his eyebrows, not quite understanding what Jiang Ning meant. Isn't your disciple Leng Ruoxu's old ancestor? If someone makes an issue out of this, you'll have to think of a good excuse. Seeing that Mo Yen was playing dumb, Jiang Ning had to explain more clearly. We're here for justice, so we're naturally on the side of justice. Mo Yen thought for a moment and said with a faint smile. Ah. You're not trying to say that justice will stand on the side of justice, are you? Jiang Ning asked with uncertainty. Yes, you're right. That's what I meant. Mo Yen nodded. But the current situation is clear. It's old man Yao who wants to find trouble with Leng Ruoxue. So, I think your idea is a little difficult to achieve. Jiang Ning couldn't help but remind him. It doesn't matter. Well, just take one step at a time. I believe that none of us here are fools. There shouldn't be many people who would be willing to be led by the nose by the Yao family. Mo Yen said calmly. Good luck then. Seeing Mo Yan's confidence, Jiang Ning didn't want to say anything more. At this time, the Yao family had walked into the living room, surrounded by the Yao family elders. After entering the living room, the head of the Yao family greeted everyone with great enthusiasm. This time, he didn't ignore the presence of others just because Jiang Ning was present. Therefore, the atmosphere this time was much better than the previous time. It could be said that the head of the Yao family had learned his lesson. However, Jiang Ning was still the target he paid the most attention to. Moreover, Jiang Ning's position was still the best among the crowd. From this, it could be seen that Jiang Ning was still the most important guest of the Yao family. After passionately exchanging pleasantries with the crowd, the head of the Yao family went straight to the point. With a face filled with righteous indignation, he recounted Leng Ruoxu's crimes, as well as how Leng Ruoxu had actually sent a group of snakes to cause trouble in order to take revenge for the Yao family's righteous words. In short, the head of the Yao family blamed Leng Ruoxu for everything that had happened to the Yao family recently. Thanks. After he was done talking about Leng Ruoxu's crimes, the head of the Yao family asked the various major powers to express their opinions. The Dragon Clan and Phoenix Clan were the first to express their thoughts. They expressed that they wanted to represent the Dragon and Phoenix clans to attack Leng Ruoxu together. As for the other forces, they looked at the Yao family, the Dragon Clan, and the Phoenix Clan, who were all wearing the same pants, and then looked at the master of the Ning family, who was sitting on the side as if it was none of his business. They were very conflicted. Based on the current situation, the Yao family had clearly come to some sort of agreement with the Dragon Clan and Phoenix Clan to deal with Leng Ruoxu together. However, the relationship between Master Ning and Leng Ruoxu had been widely spread by certain people and everyone in the divinity knew about it. Thus, everyone was in a difficult position. If they declared that they would advance and retreat together with the Yao family, the Dragon Clan, and the Phoenix Clan, they would probably offend Master Ning. Although Master Ning didn't join forces with the four king divine beasts, he still had many friends in the divinity, so his power might not be much weaker than the Yao family, the Dragon Clan, and the Phoenix Clan. Therefore, all the representatives were in a dilemma. Seeing that the representatives of the major forces didn't speak for a long time, the head of the Yao family couldn't help but feel a little anxious. However, he didn't show it on his face. Instead, he looked at the crowd with a calm and composed expression and said, "If you have any opinions, please speak. We're only discussing now." Discuss. Discuss, your head. They weren't fools and wouldn't believe the Yao family head's so-called discussion. They were afraid that once they said their thoughts, they would be determined. Therefore, no one wanted to say this. Seeing that no one supported him even after he had said so, the head of the Yao family coughed a few times and directly asked, "Sir Jiang Ning, what do you think of this matter?" As soon as he said this, everyone's eyes turned to Jiang Ning. At this moment, Jiang Ning was drinking his tea as if nothing had happened. He received everyone's heated gazes and heard the words of the Yao family's head. Jiang Ning knew that it was impossible for him to play dumb anymore. So, he put down his teacup and smiled faintly. "What opinion can I have? I'm just an alchemist who doesn't do anything. I can't carry it on my shoulders, and I can't lift it with my hands. You don't have to consider my opinion. You can do whatever you want. Jiang Ning's words made it clear that he didn't want to get involved in this matter. However, how could the head of the Yao family let him off so easily? It wasn't easy for an important figure to come to the Alchemist Guild headquarters. The Yao family head naturally wanted to pull this heavyweight figure to his side. This way, the representatives of the various forces who were hesitating and waiting to see would be able to express their opinions as soon as possible. Therefore, Jiang Ning's opinion was extremely important when it came to the Yao family head. Jiang Ning had to express his opinion. Otherwise, wouldn't it be a waste of time to invite Jiang Ning over? At the thought of this, the head of the Yao family immediately disapproved. Sir Jiang Ning, you've always been highly respected in the divine realm. Many people regard you as their idol and role model. Therefore, your opinion is very important to us. All of us need a heavyweight like you to guide us, so you don't have to be modest. If you have any ideas, you can tell us honestly and give us your opinion, don't you think so? Not bad. Mr. Jiang Ning, don't be so modest. Leng Ruoxue has done many things that infuriated the heavens and the people. She's a demon that everyone in the firmament wants to kill. We must gather everyone's strength to eliminate her. Hence, we need you very much. For the sake of justice, please join us. As soon as the head of the Yao family finished speaking, Elder Qin of the Feng clan echoed loudly with an excited expression. Moreover, judging from the resentful expression on her face, it was as if Jiang Ning's refusal was a great sin. Hearing this, Jiang Ning couldn't help but laugh. He then asked, I want to know what kind of outrageous thing Leng Ruoxue has done. Furthermore, does she need so many forces to work together to deal with a woman? The 8 great divine domains, the Dragon Clan, the Phoenix Clan, the Ascender Alliance, the Alchemist Guild headquarters and the Weapon Master Guild, as well as so many great powers in the divine realm. Do we really need so many powers to join forces to deal with Leng Ruoxue? Did that mean that Leng Ruoxue had the power of a god master? If that's the case, I advise you to give up. I've already explained to everyone what kind of outrageous things Leng Ruoxue has done. Furthermore, I've invited everyone here today not to join forces to deal with Leng Ruoxue, as we don't need so many people to do so. It's just that there are many among us who have close ties with Leng Ruoxue, which is why our Yao family has taken the lead to invite all of you here. The main reason is to discuss Leng Ruoxue's matter and to let everyone express their stand on this matter. That's why I'm hoping to get your support. If necessary, I hope that you'll also contribute. That's what I'm saying, Sir Jiang Ning. After hearing Jiang Ning's words, the head of the Yao family explained in a meaningful and heartfelt manner. Chapter 2296, Ling Xiaoyu's question, 2. What you mean is that we only need to state which side we're on and we don't need to deal with Leng Ruoxue? Jiang Ning asked. That's what I meant. Of course, if there are any righteous people who are willing to help the divine realm get rid of evil, we will also welcome them. However, before that, I need to know everyone's attitude. Only then can I better formulate the next plan. The head of the Yao clan continued. Since you don't need our Alchemist Guild headquarters to deal with Leng Ruoxue, it'll remain neutral. It'll sell the pills to both parties and it'll guarantee that the price will be the same. I won't be biased towards either party. How about it? Jiang Ning said with a smile. Hearing this, the head of the Yao family almost vomited blood. Fuck. What did Jiang Ning mean? He even wanted to sell them pills. The war between them and Leng Ruoxue had become a great opportunity for Jiang Ning to accumulate wealth. The head of the Yao family was extremely depressed. However, the other party was Jiang Ning, the vice president of the Alchemist Guild headquarters. So, even though he was filled with hatred, he didn't dare to speak rudely. Otherwise, if they really offended Jiang Ning, the Yao family would definitely be the one in trouble. But what made the head of the Yao family even angrier was yet to come. As soon as Jiang Ning expressed his thoughts, a few other forces quickly expressed that they would remain neutral. Furthermore, they were afraid that they would anger the head of the Yao family and be put in a difficult position. Therefore, after these forces expressed their opinions, they immediately chose to leave. They didn't even give the head of the Yao family a chance to stay and disappeared. This scene made the head of the Yao family so angry that his liver hurt. However, it was fortunate that most of the power was still there, so he felt a little comforted. Seeing that Jiangning's path was no longer feasible, the head of the Yao family deliberately asked for the opinion of the Craftsmen's Guild. Although Mo Yen was the leader of the Craftsmen's Guild, the head of the Yao family deliberately didn't ask about Mo Yen, but instead asked about the newly appointed second elder. Although the position of the second elder of the Craftsmen's Guild wasn't low in the eyes of others, in the eyes of the Yao family's patriarch, he was somewhat unpresentable. After all, this second elder was not conspicuous enough in the Craftsmen's Guild where talents were abundant. If he hadn't become the second elder of the Craftsmen's Guild, the Yao family's patriarch would probably not have noticed him. And now, seeing that the Yao family head had asked for the opinion of his Armament Guild headquarters, the second elder instantly felt that he had gained face and could represent the Armament Guild. Therefore, just as he was about to say something, Ling Xiaoyu beat him to it. Yao family head, the leader of our Blacksmith Guild headquarters is His Excellency Mo Yen. Instead of asking His Excellency Mo Yen, you asked for the second elder's opinion. Are you looking down on His Excellency Mo Yen? Ling Xiaoyu's words definitely had the suspicion of sowing discord. Just as the second elder was about to speak up for the Yao family head, he was glared at by Mo Yen. That glare frightened the second elder back from the words he was about to blurt out, so the second elder was well behaved for the time being. When the head of the Yao family heard Ling Xiaoyu's provocative words, he smiled and asked, "How should I address you, sir?" Ling Xiaoyu. Ling Xiaoyu said calmly. "Thanks, Ling Xiaoyu. Your surname is also Ling. May I know what is your relationship with Ling Ruoxue?" Hearing the name Ling Xiaoyu, the head of the Yao family asked this on purpose. In reality, he had investigated Ling Ruoxue very thoroughly. Naturally, he knew that Ling Ruoxue had just come to the immortal realm from the lower realm not long ago, and he was also aware of the relationship between Ling Xiaoyu and Ling Ruoxue. However, he pretended to be ignorant and even asked this question on purpose. He wanted to give everyone the feeling that this person was related to Ling Ruoxue. This way, even if Ling Xiaoyu did not dare to reveal her identity, everyone would be suspicious of his words. This way, he would naturally achieve his goal. Ling Ruoxue is my direct descendant. Ling Xiaoyu answered honestly when she heard the Yao family head's question. When the people present heard this answer, they all showed surprise in unison. Then, they turned around and started whispering to the people beside them. Ling Xiaoyu's answer also caused the head of the Yao family to be slightly taken aback. He really did not expect that under such circumstances, Ling Xiaoyu would still dare to reveal his relationship with Ling Ruoxue. Was he not afraid of being attacked by the crowd? What gave him the courage to do so? The head of the Yao family couldn't understand, but at the same time, he couldn't help sighing. Why didn't the Yao family have such a daring descendant? It was undeniable that if Ling Xiaoyu had not been close to Ling Ruoxue, he would have admired this young man. What a pity. They were destined not to be friends. Of course, if Ling Xiaoyu was willing to give up on Ling Ruoxue and stand on his side, it would be a different story. But was that possible? If Ling Xiaoyu was really on his side, he would be suspicious of her motives. Sighing, the head of the Yao family said, "I really didn't expect that the Armament Guild headquarters would send Ling Ruoxue's ancestor here. Sir Mo Yen, does the Armament Guild headquarters not know why our Yao family invited all of you?" "Of course I know," Mo Yen said calmly. He glanced at Ling Xiaoyu and continued, "Ling Xiaoyu is my disciple. Before I came here, I asked him what he would do if Ling Ruoxue really did something that would anger the heavens and the people. Xiaoyu personally told me that he would put righteousness before family because he stood on the side of justice. So, what reason do we blacksmiths have to not let him come?" Mo Yan's words were very sincere, and everyone could not help but secretly nod in agreement. At the same time, they also had a little more admiration for Ling Xiaoyu. After all, there were not many people in this world who were willing to put righteousness before family. Most people would protect their juniors unconditionally. Even if their juniors did something wrong, they would not allow others to criticize them, let alone allow their juniors to be killed by others. Leng Xiaoyu calmly accepted the attention from the crowd and returned a smile before continuing, I've heard a little about Shuai'er's matter, and with what you've just said, I finally have a general understanding of it. So, I have a few questions for you to answer, and I hope you can enlighten me. Then, without giving the head of the Yao family a chance to speak, Leng Xiaoyu started to ask, First, I want to know where the victim of the God Lord's estate's bounty is. They said that because Shuai'er coveted the magical beasts, she had allied with some rebels from the divine realm to attack the magical beasts. Then what about the victims of the magical beasts? There has to be a victim who can explain it, right? The magical beasts have already made a statement. Leng Ruoxue is their enemy. The head of the Yao clan said. That's right. Leng Ruoxue is the common enemy of the beast clan. This is something that everyone knows. Elder Qin echoed. What if I say that the magical beasts were forced to make that declaration due to the God Lord's estate's attitude? Since the beasts have made a statement, is there a problem for the victims to come out and explain how Shuai'er attacked them? Leng Xiaoyu asked again. Didn't we already say that the beast clan was attacked by Leng Ruoxue? Where are the victims? The head of the Yao family said matter-of-factly. This time, none of the elders of the dragon kind and the phoenix kind interrupted. Chapter 2297 Leng Xiaoyu's question, 3, Patriarch Yao's meaning, I can understand it as the victims of the beast clan have all fallen. Leng Xiaoyu tried to probe after hearing Master Yao's words. Of course. The head of the Yao family nodded his head with certainty. In that case, there are no beasties that can come out to testify. Leng Xiaoyu asked. I don't think so. The Yao family's master said. How could he know if there was any? The news had come from the divine master's estate. Other than issuing a statement, the beast race had basically remained silent. Therefore, even as the master of one of the 8 great divine domains, he did not know much about this matter. More importantly, he did not expect someone to ask him this question. He could not make up a lie even if he wanted to. Moreover, it was not appropriate for him to make up a lie in public. Otherwise, if Leng Xiaoyu really asked him to produce evidence, wasn't he just shooting himself in the foot? Since there are no beasts who can prove that my Shuai'er really attacked them, why should the beasts make a statement and even let the divine master's estate stand up for them? Isn't this clearly a setup? Leng Xiaoyu said angrily after hearing Master Yao's words. How could the God Lord's estate frame you? Leng Ruoxue must have done something like this. Otherwise, the divine master's residence wouldn't have issued such a reward. The head of the Yao family said with certainty. Then, he put on an expression that said I understand how you feel and consoled Leng Xiaoyu. I know that as Leng Ruoxue's ancestor, you don't want to see her being condemned by the public and being a heinous criminal. However, this is the truth. Unless you can find evidence to prove her innocence, she can only be a demon that everyone in the firmament wants to kill. Of course you'll think of a way to prove Shuai'er's innocence. However, shouldn't the divine master's estate and the magical beasts first produce evidence that Shuai'er killed the magical beasts? Otherwise, who would know if it was true? If you can say that Shuai'er is a demon who kills without blinking, then can I also say that Shuai'er was framed? Leng Xiaoyu replied as if it was only natural. After saying this, he deliberately turned his gaze to the 2 reverent gods from the divine master's estate, Huang Wei and Xia Yi. However, the 2 of them did not even look at him. They only lowered their heads and seemed to be thinking about something. How is this the same? Would the divine master's residence and the beast clan lie and accuse Leng Ruoxue? The head of the Yao family said helplessly. Who knows? We can't believe it unconditionally just because it's said by the divine master's estate, right? As the manager of the divine realm, shouldn't the God Lord's estate have absolute evidence when it came to speaking and handling matters? Otherwise, how can we be convinced? Leng Xiaoyu retorted. Seeing how stubborn Leng Xiaoyu was in trying to exonerate Leng Ruoxue, Elder Qin grew impatient and shouted, Leng Ruoxue has indeed killed many beasts. The 2 elders of our Phoenix clan are still unconscious. Upon hearing this, everyone was shocked. They were even more interested in the gossip about the bounty that had swept the divine realm a while ago. Most of them perked up their ears, hoping to hear the most secretive truth. In fact, the reward offered by the Divine Lord's estate was very attractive to the major forces present. However, some top forces did not dare to act rashly because of the face of the master of the Ning family. Only some small forces were guarding the land of demons. Although some of the forces present had sent people to the land of demons, most of them had only gone there to scout for information and pay attention to the latest developments of the incident. Of course, they could not rule out the idea of looting a burning house, but in general, they had not taken any action. Instead, he had been in a state of observation. If they hadn't been observing, they wouldn't have immediately sent people after receiving the Yao family's invitation. However, whether or not they would participate was up to them to decide. Now, most of the forces were unwilling to express their opinions, which meant that they had not made a final decision. However, after hearing Elder Qin's words, apart from being surprised, everyone's gazes all turned to her. When Elder Qin saw this, he couldn't help but regret speaking so quickly. However, wasn't she just getting impatient from Ling Xiaoyu's interrogation? Therefore, she did not think that she had done anything wrong. After hearing Elder Qin's words, Ling Xiaoyu became even calmer. She smiled and asked, "Why didn't Elder Qin say that earlier? I even specifically asked about the beast race's victim. The Yao family head told me that all the victims of the beast race have fallen." Master Yao is right. Most of them have fallen. However, our 4 king divine beasts are still alive. They're just unconscious. Elder Qin said, bracing himself. The clan of the 4 king divine beasts? If I'm not mistaken, what Elder Qin means is that other than the phoenix race, the dragon race, the white tiger race, and the Qilin race, there are also elders that were injured by Shuai. Ling Xiaoyu caught on to Elder Qin's words and asked indifferently. The Qilin clan doesn't have any, but our 3 clans have elders who are unconscious. It's all Len Ruox's doing. Elder Qin said through gritted teeth. Although this matter was considered a top secret in the Phoenix clan, as an elder of the Phoenix clan, she still knew about it. At this moment, she had also forgotten the Phoenix King's advice. She only wanted to convict Ling Ruoxue first. Thanks, the information revealed by her words stunned everyone present once again. Oh my god. The dragon race, phoenix race, and white tiger race all had their elders injured by Ling Ruoxue. Ling Ruoxue's strength. At the thought of this, many of the representatives had the intention to retreat. Those who had such thoughts were definitely aware of their own limitations. One must know that they were not as tough-skinned as the magical beasts. Even their elders had been killed by Ling Ruoxue, so they would probably not be able to gain any advantage from her. However, they could finally confirm one thing, and that was that what the reward said was true. Can I ask, the elders of your 3 clans who were injured by Shuai, what is their strength? Ling Xiaoyu asked with a smile as she glanced at the expressions of the people present. She was also a little surprised at the growth rate of her own descendant. It should be known that she and Shuai had only been separated for a few years, but Shuai was already able to hurt the elders of the 3 great kings of the Divine Beast clan. When she thought of this, she suddenly felt a little worried. After coming out of seclusion this time, he originally thought that he could protect his own genius descendant well. Who knew that he hadn't even had the chance to show off? That was when he heard the truth. However, even after hearing Elder Qin's words, he was still skeptical about what the Divine Lord's estate had said. Who asked him to believe that Shuai would not do such a thing? He was very clear how well Shuai treated Beastie. She would not attack the beasts for no reason. If Shuai had really done that, she must have had a reason. He firmly believed in this. Therefore, although he said that he would put righteousness before family, in reality, he was also an old ancestor who protected his children. However, compared to some people who could not tell right from wrong, he was still rational. They're all reverent God level. Elder Qin said. Another elder of the Phoenix clan was really resentful that Elder Qin had failed to meet his expectations when he saw that Elder Qin had revealed his secret so easily. However, she had already said it, so she could only accept it. How many Reverend God-level experts are there? Ling Xiaoyu continued to ask. 6 of you. Are you done? Why do you have so many questions? Elder Qin roared impatiently. At this time, she also felt that something was wrong, because the gazes of the people present were clearly disdainful. Elder Qin was a little angry. Who asked her to not know why she was being despised by others? In fact, she was not the one that they despised, but the 3 King Divine Beast clans. Just think about it, how powerful would 6 Reverend God-level experts be? And those were the 6 Reverend God-level beasts with the noblest bloodline. However, they had all been injured by Leng Ruoxue. Now, they no longer dared to imagine Leng Ruoxue's strength. The only thing they could think about was why the 6 Reverend God-level experts were so weak. Everyone was puzzled by this, and once the truth of the matter exceeded the bottom line that they could accept and acknowledge, they would naturally become suspicious. Thus, they all had a sense of distrust towards the truth of Elder Qin's words, but they did not dare to show it too obviously, but their contemptuous gazes were not concealed at all. Ling Xiaoyu was secretly observing all of this, and she was already laughing in her heart. At the same time, Leng Ruoxue and the rest who were at the bottom of the cliff were also watching the live broadcast through the screen. When Sung saw Ling Xiaoyu's question after question, making Patriarch Yao and Elder Qin a little impatient, he could not help but smile at Leng Ruoxue. Girl, your family's old ancestor isn't bad. He's worth nurturing. That's right. Don't you know whose family it is? Leng Ruoxue said with a proud expression. Looking at Leng Ruoxue's smug expression, the evildoer could not help but stretch out his fingers and pinch Leng Ruoxue's perfect face. He smiled and said, Shuer, look at how smug you are. Actually, he wanted to say, Shuer, you're really too cute now. However, he was afraid that Shuer would be proud, so he changed his words. However, when Sung heard his words, he did not give him any face and said, so what if I'm smug? Others may not be allowed to show off, but my girl? My girl can show off as she likes, and she can do whatever she wants. It's not your girl, it's mine. Sung's words made evildoer grit his teeth in hatred. However, in the divine world, he really couldn't do anything to Sung. Hence, he could only swallow his anger and watch this fellow prancing around in front of him. Chapter 2298, Husband and Wife's Soul Contract, 1, Mine. Nyo has a soul contract with me, do you? Nyo and I will be together forever. If she lives, I live. If she dies, I die. Can you do that? After hearing evildoer's words, Azure said with a look of disdain. Azure's words made the demon speechless. All right. He admitted that there was no contract between him and Shuer, but this did not mean that they would be separated, right? He and Shuer would be together forever. They didn't ask to be born on the same day, but they could still die on the same day, same month, and same year, right? Wait a minute. Why did he have to die? He and Shuer would definitely not die. Even if the entire world were to collapse, and all the humans and beasts were to die, he and Shuer would never die. Right. He and Shuer would be together forever. However, the soul contract was really annoying. This was because he knew that Shuer's beastie had basically signed a soul contract with her. This also meant that no matter if Shuer was dead or alive, she could forget about getting rid of those guys. AI. It was really a headache. Why were there so many third wheels between him and Shuer? A certain super bright light bulb actually used the soul contract to provoke him. How preposterous. Wasn't it just a soul contract? If they could sign, so could he. At the thought of this, the demon suddenly mumbled something. Then, a contract law rapidly enveloped Leng Ruoxue and the demon. It emitted a 7-colored halo that did not dissipate for a long time. The two of them had formed a contract relationship. When the contract law disappeared, Leng Ruoxue was dumbfounded. Evildoer had a smug look on his face as he looked at Sung provocatively. He had initiated the contract, and it was not just a soul contract. The full name of the contract was husband and wife soul contract. As the name suggested, it was a contract that could only be signed between husband and wife. With the constraints of the contract, the relationship between the two was basically set in stone. No one could break it. Otherwise, any third party who tried to break it would be punished by the rules of heaven and earth. However, after signing the soul contract, he and everything he had would belong to Shui. Of course, Shui's would still be her own. Woo. In the future, he would have to rely on Shui to support him. Because even if he had a single cent, it would belong to Shui. Without Shui's permission, he could not use it at all. This contract had made him hand himself over to Shui completely, and he had become a penniless commander without a single soul. Even the management of the Netherworld realm would be enjoyed by Shui. Therefore, just from this contract alone, he was at a great disadvantage, but he did not regret it. With that, no one could separate him and Shui. Not even the laws of heaven and earth. This fact put him in a good mood. Although he had signed this contract because of Tsang's encouragement, he was also quite grateful to Tsang. If it wasn't for its reminder, he wouldn't have remembered that a husband and wife could have such a soul contract. Of course, not everyone had the right to sign such a contract, and even fewer people knew about it. Most importantly, not everyone had the courage to sign such an unfair soul contract. After signing the soul contract of husband and wife, he was a little regretful. Of course, he did not regret signing the unequal soul contract, but he regretted not thinking about it earlier and signing it earlier. If he had done so, wouldn't Shui have been his long ago? In reality, although Shui had always belonged to him, the two of them had never truly gotten married. Therefore, some bored people or beasts would always use this reason to provoke him. Now, with this contract, even if Shui did not give him a public identity, he was not afraid, hee. Because the two of them could not even think of separating. Thanks after the demon did such a thing, he was so proud of himself. When Tsang saw him like this, he couldn't help but ask, "What did you do? What did you do to my girl?" "Nothing much, I just signed a soul contract with Shui. Now, our names have been recognized by the laws of the world, so you're not allowed to say that Shui is your girl, and Shui is my girl," the demon said viciously. A soul contract between husband and wife? You. When Azure heard this, he pointed at evildoer angrily with his little claws. He was so angry that he couldn't speak. His snow-white fur had even turned pink from anger. "What about me? My relationship with Shui is now protected by the laws of heaven and earth, so whatever you say is useless," the evildoer said proudly. "What are you guys talking about? What soul contract? Why is your relationship with Shui protected by the laws of heaven and earth? Do the laws of heaven and earth still care about this?" The great elder at the side listened to their conversation and asked with a face full of question marks. Although the others didn't say anything, they were also very interested in their topic. Therefore, they all looked at them with anticipation, their faces red with the words seeking answers written on their faces. "The husband and wife soul contract means that my relationship with Shui as husband and wife has been acknowledged by the laws of the world. Whoever dares to break it will be punished by the laws of the world. However, everything I have will also belong to Shui. From now on, I will really be Shui's gigolo." Towards the end of his sentence, the demon's tone suddenly turned bitter. Then, he glanced at Len Ruoxue pitifully. However, Len Ruoxue was still in a state of shock and had yet to return to her senses. Naturally, she had no way to respond to him. After the first elder and the others heard the demon's explanation, they still didn't quite understand his words. Therefore, the first elder asked shamelessly, "What do you mean by everything you have is Shui's? My people, my money, they all belong to Shui. Shui will also enjoy my rights. As for Shui's, it would still be hers. Do you understand now?" The demon patiently explained in detail. At this moment, First Elder and the others all understood. After understanding the situation, they looked at the evildoer in a different light. They did not expect him to go to such an extent for Schwer. If it were any other man, he would probably not be able to give everything he had to a woman so easily, right? Even if this woman was the one he loved, it was not easy to do this. Because of this, their impression of the monster improved a lot. However, Azure was filled with jealousy and hatred towards evildoer. When Leng Ruoxue finally came back to her senses, she didn't know what to say. On the other hand, the evildoer had a pitiful look on his face as he begged for a mistress. Instantly, Leng Ruoxue was in a state of confusion. Although the evildoer liked to act coquettishly, this was the first time he had asked for a mistress. More importantly, she was speechless when faced with this man who was begging to be her mistress. Could she say that she only had pets and not men? The answer was, of course, no, because the man in front of her was not a pretty boy. This was her man, her fiancé, and the man she had signed a husband and wife contract with. However, when she heard him asking for a mistress, she felt strange. Some disharmonious images appeared in her mind. Alright. She was a bit perverted, but actually, she was still very ladylike. Chapter 2299, Husband and Wife's Soul Contract, 2. As Leng Ruoxue's thoughts ran wild, she accidentally caught a glimpse of the demon's pitiful and innocent eyes, which were like those of a little rabbit. In the end, she still nodded her head kindly and said with a serious expression, "Originally, I only raise pets and not men. However, you can be an exception." N. The demon nodded happily. This was exactly what he wanted to hear. If Schwer liked to raise men instead of pets, he would be the one crying. The two of them seemed to have come to an agreement. The evildoer naturally pulled Leng Ruoxue into his arms. Meanwhile, Sung, who was so angry that his hair stood on end, ran to a corner far away in anger. What the eyes don't see, the heart doesn't feel annoyed, right? It was not willing to see that pretty boy's smug gaze. However, the thing it regretted the most was that it had provoked him with its mouth. If it hadn't mentioned the soul contract, that guy wouldn't have remembered it. Sung really regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. The scene just now was just a small interlude to the first elder and the others, and it passed quickly. However, the heated discussion in the Yao family's main residence was still ongoing. Leng Ruoxue and the rest then turned their attention back to the live broadcast. In the Yao family's main residence, Ling Xiaoyu had won the first round after a short exchange with the Yao family's head and the rest. The master of the Yao family and the elders of the phoenix kind and the dragon kind were so angry that they almost vomited blood. However, it wasn't over yet. It was impossible for Ling Xiaoyu to let them off so easily. If they did not press on with their victory now, when else could they? A faint smile appeared on Ling Xiaoyu's extremely handsome face. Then, his voice rang out in the living room again. "Elder Qin, don't be angry from embarrassment. I asked so many questions because I had doubts in my heart. That's why I wanted to know more. After all, even though I'm on the side of justice, I don't want to wrong a good person and let a bad person benefit. So, I'd like to know why all 6 reverent god-level beasts were killed by my Schwer. Could it be that the reverent god-level experts of your 3 clans are made of paper?" Ling Xiaoyu's question was extremely sincere. Furthermore, the anticipation on his face made one feel that if Elder Qin did not answer him properly, he would be letting him down. Unsurprisingly, Elder Qin's liver hurt from anger. Her face was flushed red from anger and her full chest heaved up and down. For a long time, she did not say a single word. After a while, Ling Xiaoyu asked again, "Elder Qin, I'm waiting for your answer." "You should answer me." "Why should I answer you? Who do you think you are? How dare you ask me to answer your question?" Elder Qin's anger burned from being forced to ask this question, and he spoke with a disdainful expression. Indeed, she looked down on Ling Xiaoyu. She felt that Ling Xiaoyu was a nobody in the immortal realm and did not have much status. Hence, she was not polite when she spoke to Ling Xiaoyu. Thanks in reality, if Ling Xiaoyu was an alchemist, even if she was not famous, she might not be like this. After all, everyone in the divine world knew that no one could offend an alchemist. As for weapon masters, divine beasts of noble status like them really did not care too much about them because they did not need to refine weapons at all. The body of a beast was their best weapon. Furthermore, the more noble a beast's bloodline was, the better its talent was. Therefore, weapons were a burden to them. Therefore, they naturally wouldn't respect armament masters like humans. It was for this reason that she did not even take Mo Yen seriously, let alone his disciple. He. You answered me because I have a question. If you choose not to answer, then I can only assume that you're lying about Shuer attacking the beasts. As for my identity, it has nothing to do with the question you are going to answer. Now is not the time to talk about status, so, Elder Qin, in order to prove that Shuer has really committed a heinous crime, please cooperate. I think that's what all the major powers here are curious about. Ling Xiaoyu said with a smile. She was not angry at Elder Qin's disdainful words. What was there to argue with a beast? Wouldn't that be lowering his status? However, just because he wasn't angry didn't mean that Mo Yen wasn't angry. Without giving Elder Qin a chance to speak, Mo Yen coldly said, Elder Qin, Xiaoyu is my disciple, so I request that you apologize to her for what you just said. Otherwise, you'll bear the consequences. You want me to apologize? No way. Mo Yan's words made Elder Qin sneer. If you don't apologize, then you'll have to bear the consequences. Mo Yan said indifferently. What a joke. What are the consequences? Elder Qin said without a care. Jiang Ning, Xiaoyu is my disciple. Do as you see fit. Mo Yen did not even look at Elder Qin as he spoke directly to Jiang Ning who was sitting beside him. He knew that Elder Qin had been very rude to weapon craftsmen because she thought that they had no use for them. However, what she did not know was that weapon craftsmen and alchemists had always advanced and retreated together. Otherwise, the two headquarters would not be so close to each other. The matters of the weapon craftsman's headquarters were naturally the matters of the alchemist headquarters. That was why he had directly thrown this matter to Jiang Ning. After hearing Mo Yan's words, Jiang Ning could only sigh helplessly. Then, he said to Elder Qin, Elder Qin, in view of your rudeness to artifact masters, I can only announce that from now on, alchemists will no longer sell medicinal pills to your Feng clan. In addition, in order to prevent you from borrowing the hands of others to buy pills, we will no longer do the pill business of the beast race. Let's do this. After saying this, Jiang Ning acted as if nothing had happened and continued to drink his tea. However, in reality, he was communicating with Mo Yen via voice transmission so that he could gain some benefits for himself. He made up an excuse that the Alchemist Guild had lost a lot of wealth after he stopped doing business with the beast race. Hence, he wanted Leng Ruoxue to compensate him. Mo Yen didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he heard this. He was obviously after that girl Shuer's medicinal herbs, yet he still had to find a good excuse for himself. However, Jiang Ning's words were out of his expectations. He had thought that it would be fine as long as Jiang Ning didn't do business with the Phoenix tribe. Who knew that Jiang Ning would say that he wouldn't do business with the beasts as well? He couldn't help but feel a little touched. He decided that he would put in a good word for Jiang Ning when he saw Shuer. As such, Shuer might even treat Jiang Ning better for his sake. In the end, Mo Yen promised Jiang Ning that he would help him. Only then did Jiang Ning reveal a satisfied smile. However, Elder Qin's expression changed drastically when he heard Jiang Ning's words. He said with a look of disbelief, Sir Jiang Ning, how could you do this? I've never been disrespectful to you. Elder Qin felt very wronged and his voice was choked with sobs. However, Jiang Ning wasn't someone who knew how to be tender to a woman. He looked a little impatient, but he still said the truth. Don't tell me you don't know that the Alchemist Guild headquarters and the Artifact Master Guild headquarters have always worn the same pair of pants. If you don't respect blacksmiths, you're looking down on us alchemists. Why should we still do business with you? Your phoenix kind has always looked down on humans because of your noble bloodline. But, have you ever thought about whether we humans look up to you beasts? Chapter 2300, Husband and Wife's Soul Contract. 3. In the eyes of us humans, you're just a bunch of beasts. How can you have a higher status than us? Otherwise, why are you the ones who have been contracted by humans? Why have I never heard of any humans being contracted by you? Originally, I'm very friendly to the beast clan and have never meant to belittle any beast. Those who know me know that I'm a person who can clearly distinguish between kindness and hatred. But today, you've made me angry. Therefore, I can only give him a taste of his own medicine. Jiang Ning didn't even spare a glance at the tear-stained Elder Qin as he continued speaking. Jiang Ning's words made Elder Qin feel even more wronged. How could she have known that the Alchemist Guild headquarters and the Weapon Master Guild headquarters had such a relationship? If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have been so rude to Mo Yan and Ling Xiaoyu. Moreover, she had long heard that Jiang Ning was a man of his word and knew that he wouldn't change his mind once he said something. As a result, she was filled with regret. The words that he had wanted to plead with Jiang Ning for were now stuck in his throat. As for the other 3 elders of the beast race, although they were very angry after hearing Jiang Ning's beast theory, they didn't know what to say. It seemed like they were in a deadlock. No one had expected that Jiang Ning would be so angry because of Elder Qin's rudeness towards Mo Yan and his disciple. He also didn't expect that Jiang Ning would stand up for Mo Yan and his disciple. However, since things had already come to this, was there any room for redemption? If they really lost their supply of pills in the future, it would definitely be a disaster for the beast race. The more the 3 of them thought about it, the more afraid they became. Their faces also gradually turned pale. Just as they were racking their brains to change Jiang Ning's mind, the people present began to respect Mo Yan and Ling Xiaoyu even more after hearing Jiang Ning's words. They were very respectful to Mo Yan. Unlike the beasts, humans could not offend weapon masters without restraint. To them, they could not offend either a pill master or a weapon master easily. Otherwise, an expert without a weapon was like a tiger without its teeth, its offensive power greatly reduced. And now, an alchemist and a blacksmith were wearing the same pants, so it was even more impossible to provoke them. With this thought in mind, everyone secretly vowed in their hearts that they would rather suffer losses than offend alchemists and blacksmiths with powerful backers. Otherwise, if they were to really bear the consequences, it would definitely be life-threatening. Look, wasn't that overbearing and arrogant Elder Qin wilting like a frost-beaten eggplant? They didn't want to end up like Elder Qin. If the Alchemist Guild headquarters really cut off their pills, it would be fatal to anyone. Furthermore, after this incident, everyone understood that Jiang Ning would immediately stand up for Mo Yan because of what he said. Ling Xiaoyu was Mo Yan's beloved disciple, so the reason why Mo Yan asked Jiang Ning to stand up for Ling Xiaoyu was also because of her. Therefore, they took Ling Xiaoyu's words more seriously. But now, the most confusing thing for everyone was the relationship between Ling Xiaoyu and Ling Ruoxue. It was undeniable that after what had happened, the major powers' desire to get involved in Ling Ruoxue's matter had lessened. At this moment, everyone's thoughts were to try their best to form a good relationship with Ling Xiaoyu. Who asked her to have such a powerful master? As such, they naturally couldn't do anything to Ling Ruoxue. Otherwise, if Jiang Ning stood up for her and cut off their supply of pills in a fit of anger, where would they go to cry? With this thought in mind, the crowd found Ling Xiaoyu more and more pleasing to the eye. As for his question, someone immediately echoed, Elder Qin, Her Excellency Ling Xiaoyu's words make sense. You'd better explain to us. Why were the 6 reverent god-level cultivators from your 3 clans injured by Ling Ruoxue? Could it be that the reverent god-level experts of your 3 clans are really made of paper? Hearing this, Ling Xiaoyu laughed in her heart. However, she also knew that this was definitely the result of what her master and Jiang Ning had done. Otherwise, these people would not have cooperated with her so well. But no matter what, it was enough that the result was good. At this time, the master of the Ning family, who had been silent the whole time, also opened his mouth and said, "The beast race must give us a reasonable explanation for this matter. My daughter cannot be defamed by others for no reason. It is. I understand that little girl Schwer, she would never take the initiative to attack the beast race. If there was such a thing, it must be that your beast race had done something shameful and that little girl was only acting in self-defense." The head of the Cheng family agreed with a look of understanding. Thanks. As soon as he finished speaking, the master of the Ning family gave him an appreciative look, as if saying, "You found the truth. I also believe in that girl. She won't take the initiative to attack the beast clan." The master of the Yin family also expressed his opinion in time. He did not want old man Cheng to be the only one to benefit from it. After all, he and Leng Ruoxue had a deep relationship. Hearing their words, the 4 clan heads of the Yu, Qi, Lu, and Fan clans also expressed their doubts about the truth of the bounty. They requested the Beast clan to provide reasonable evidence and even said that they could not convict Leng Ruoxue based on their one-sided statements. He also said that he should give Leng Ruoxue a chance to defend herself. 7 of the patriarchs from the 8 great divine domains had expressed their views on Leng Ruoxue's matter. Naturally, the various great factions were not to be outdone and had made the same request. In this way, the crimes that the Yao family head had previously reported regarding Leng Ruoxue had naturally become decorations due to the lack of evidence. With regards to this, the Yao family head could not help but feel angry from embarrassment. Damn it! This bunch of people who sailed with the wind. Why didn't they ask him to show evidence when he started to say it? As for the evidence, he really did not prepare it. After all, he felt that it was already known to everyone, so there was no need for evidence. However, now, if he did not produce real evidence, these people would not let it go at all. He thought that all of this was caused by Leng Xiaoyu and the master of the Ning family. This was really infuriating. The more the head of the Yao family thought about it, the angrier he became. He couldn't help but shout, "Do you really think that the Divine Master's estate and the magical beasts would lie? This kind of thing can be said casually. The Beast clan was attacked by a little girl, do you think it's a glorious thing? If it wasn't true, why would they bring it up? Therefore, you must not be easily incited by others, and don't be used by those with ulterior motives. This matter is absolutely true." "Is it true? Yao family head, did you see it with your own eyes?" The master of the Ning family glanced at the master of the Yao family and said faintly. Then, without giving the head of the Yao family a chance to answer, he continued to say, "I don't know if the Divine Master's estate and the magical beasts are lying, but I'm sure of one thing, and that is that everything has to be supported by evidence. If you say that Schwer attacked the magical beasts without any evidence, then you're falsely accusing Schwer. You're purposely smearing Schwer's name. We're not fools, so don't try to fool us with a few words. If you want us to acknowledge that Schwer really did it, then show us enough convincing evidence." The master of the Ning family said again, and put on a posture that if you don't show evidence, you won't be finished. "That's right. The beast race must produce evidence," Leng Xiaoyu said with a determined look. The 3 beast elders' faces alternated between red and white upon hearing this. On the other hand, Elder Qin had been in a state of shock because of Jiang Ning's words. Right now, her mind wasn't on this matter at all. She was still thinking about how alchemists would always refuse to sell beast race medicinal pills. The only 3 beast elders who were still conscious wore constipated expressions on their faces, and their faces quickly turned as black as ink. It was their fault for not knowing how to answer the other party's question. Where would they have the evidence? After a long while, another Feng clan elder finally spoke with a reluctant expression, "This is a secret of the Beast clan, it's not convenient to disclose it." In fact, she didn't want to say this at all. But if she didn't say anything, the 2 elders of the Dragon tribe said that she couldn't return to the Phoenix tribe safely. Being threatened by the 2 dragons like this, she was embarrassed and angry, but she had to compromise. Who asked her to be unable to defeat the 2 dragons? Secret? Not convenient to disclose. Do you beasts want to get rid of us like this? If you can't produce enough evidence, then I can only assume that you've maligned Shui on purpose. The master of the Ning family said calmly after hearing the words of an elder of the Feng clan. Didn't Elder Qin say that 2 of our Phoenix clan's elders are still unconscious? This isn't evidence. An elder of the Phoenix tribe said angrily. An elder of your Phoenix clan is unconscious, but that doesn't mean it was Shui who did it, right? Who knows why they fell unconscious? What if it's an internal battle between your clansmen? The master of the Ning family argued with a smile. In fact, he had long wanted to find a chance to refute the rumors that Shui had attacked the beasts. It was just that he had never had a suitable opportunity. Otherwise, he would not have endured it until now. It was better not to say these words now. This opportunity was given to him by Old Man Yao. He. Old Man Yao had not achieved his goal, so he would probably be so depressed that he would vomit blood. However, he didn't sympathize with him. He's not a good-hearted person. He deserved it. Chapter 2301, Breaking News, 1, Master Ning, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. Everyone knows that our Feng clan is famous for being united. How can we kill each other? Hearing the master of the Ning family's words, an elder of the Phoenix clan was so angry that her face turned red. Her originally beautiful face was somewhat distorted. If it weren't for the other party's identity, she would have attacked him long ago. She couldn't understand how the master of the Ning family, who was a respected figure in the divine realm, could say such irresponsible words. If word of this got out, it would definitely affect the reputation of the Phoenix clan badly. Therefore, as a member of the Phoenix clan who was loyal to her, she would never allow such a thing to happen. However, when the master of the Ning family heard the words of this elder of the Phoenix tribe, he couldn't help but smile. Oh, really? Was the Phoenix clan very united? Then, how do you explain what happened to the Phoenix kind 100,000 years ago? What is it? A certain elder of the Phoenix tribe asked in a daze. What, you don't know? That's right, you're too young. You were probably still wearing open-crotch pants hundreds of thousands of years ago. Besides, you don't have a high status in the Phoenix clan, so I'm afraid you won't have the chance to know about such confidential matters. The master of the Ning family smiled and said to himself. You better explain yourself clearly. Is there anything that I don't know about the Feng clan's secret? Master Ning's words made the Phoenix quite angry. As the saying goes, you can lose people but not your face. Therefore, she must let the old man of the Ning family explain clearly. Otherwise, she would not let him off. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, a rebellion occurred in the Phoenix kind, and the Phoenix king was sealed. The current king of the Phoenix kind took the opportunity to ascend the throne. I don't think the current queen of your Phoenix clan would reveal such a thing for no reason, because she's that traitor. Such a disgraceful thing, of course, the less people know, the better. Don't tell me that you know. The master of the Ning family said calmly. Everyone was shocked by his words. This was definitely a top secret. If these words had not come from Master Ning's mouth but were said by someone else, they would never have believed it. Moreover, the status of the master of the Ning family was there for all to see, so they believed that the master of the Ning family would definitely not make irresponsible remarks. Therefore, this matter was most likely true. Everyone's expression changed drastically upon hearing this, and a certain Phoenix's expression did not look any better. She was shocked and dazed by Master Ning's words. In fact, Master Ning was right. She was indeed young and had been an elder of the Feng clan for less than 10,000 years. However, she had heard of what Master Ning said in the Feng clan. However, many rumors had basically come from outside the clan. Therefore, no one in the younger generation of the Feng clan took it seriously. Although the Phoenix clan was not as united as she had claimed, at least they would not kill each other. To the outside world, they were known for being united. The younger generation even regarded the current Phoenix king as their idol. Therefore, the younger generation of the Phoenix clan would rarely believe that the current Phoenix king's throne was obtained through rebellion. Of course, there were people in the Phoenix clan who knew about it, but most of them were the trusted aides of the Phoenix King. Or it could be said that the people who knew about it were basically involved in the incident that year. These people would naturally not bring up the disgraceful things of that year to educate their descendants. Even if there were descendants who could remember and knew some of the situation at that time, they would still be ordered to keep their mouths shut. Thanks therefore, it wasn't strange that she, the young Phoenix, didn't know much about this. However, when she heard these words, the Phoenix could not accept it for a moment. She had always loved the Phoenix King and was a loyal supporter of the current Phoenix King. Therefore, she was absolutely unwilling to admit that the king she had wholeheartedly supported was not the legitimate king of the Phoenix clan. At the thought of this, the Phoenix suddenly flew into a rage and roared fiercely, "You're talking nonsense. Don't you dare sully the reputation of our clan's king. Otherwise, our Phoenix clan will never let you off. Your Nings will be the biggest enemy of our clan." Hearing this threat, the master of the Ning family didn't take it to heart, because he knew that Shuai and the current king of the Phoenix clan would never be allies. In that case, why should he be afraid of offending the Phoenix clan? Naturally, he would not care about the threat of a little phoenix. The Phoenix clan. Even if they became his enemies, he would not be afraid. After all, the Phoenix clan was no longer the same as before. In the past, the previous Phoenix King was a very romantic figure. Who knew that he would be harmed by a villain? That was why he was still sealed up until now. Ever since the Phoenix clan changed its king, the Phoenix clan began to decline. There were constant internal conflicts in the Phoenix clan. Of course, the people of the Phoenix clan would never be willing to talk about such things. Therefore, he was too lazy to refute this stubborn little phoenix. Other than that, it wasn't just the phoenix kind that was in such a situation. The dragon kind and the white tiger kind weren't much stronger than the phoenix kind either. At the thought of this, the master of the Ning family ignored the phoenix's threat and turned his eyes to the two dragon elders who were pretending to be mute. He said with a smile, "Two elders, do you know how the current dragon emperor of your dragon clan got his throne?" When the crowd heard the master of the Ning family ask about the elders of the dragon clan again, their hearts trembled again before they could recover from their shock. Because of the master of the Ning family's words, they all turned their eyes to the two embarrassed elders of the dragon clan. The two dragon tribe elders were infuriated upon seeing this. Fuck! Were they getting shot while lying down? Seeing that the situation wasn't right, they had already kept a low profile, but why were they still targeted by the master of the Ning family? When they heard the questions that the master of the Ning family asked them, they felt as if they had swallowed a dead fly. No matter how they answered, it was not right. It was as if they had jumped into the trap that the master of the Ning family had set. This fact made them extremely depressed. Helplessly, the two of them couldn't help but turn their gazes to the head of the Yao family to seek his help. Seeing this, the head of the Yao family could only brace himself and say, "Master Ning, how could we discuss the affair of Dragon Emperor in the public? If the Dragon Emperor were to find out about this, wouldn't he think that our human race is uneducated?" Yao family head, this has nothing to do with upbringing. As a person of the divine realm, we naturally have the right to know about the major events in the divine realm. Especially when these major events have affected us, we should know even more, shouldn't we? Hearing Master Yao's words, Master Ning smiled. But how did the Dragon Emperor get his throne? That's his own business. How did it affect us? The head of the Yao clan asked with a puzzled expression. It's affecting our safety. If the Dragon Emperor and the Phoenix King's rights are not obtained through proper means, the divine realm will definitely not be at peace. Once the divine realm is at peace, our human race will naturally be implicated. That's why I said that our human race has the right to know about this, don't you think so? The master of the Ning family spoke earnestly, and as he spoke, he turned his gaze to the people present. Of course, his last question was also directed at them. Chapter 2302, Breaking News, 2, everyone nodded in agreement. Then, they looked at the two dragon tribe elders expectantly and humbly. At this time, the master of the Ning family said with regret, "It's a pity that those 2 elders of the white tiger race aren't here. Otherwise, we should ask them too. The situation of your 3 races is the same." Ah! The crowd was shocked again. The eyes that were looking at the 2 dragon tribe elders were burning with passion. Under the pressure of everyone's gazes, the 2 dragon tribe elders could only say helplessly, "We're not too sure about such confidential information." They really didn't know, so they naturally didn't know how to answer this hot question. In an instant, cold sweat flowed down their foreheads, and they were at a loss. The 2 of them even suspected that they had come to the wrong place. Otherwise, why would he be talking about the beast race when he was clearly here for Leng Ruox's matter? They had not been able to gain any advantage from Leng Xiaoyu, and now, with Master Ning's overbearing attitude, they felt even more pressured. At the thought of this, cold sweat began to drip down their bodies. At this moment, they really wanted to run away, and they couldn't sit still anymore. They were afraid that Master Ning would say something shocking again. At that time, the prestige of their dragon clan would be almost destroyed. However, even if they wanted to escape, could they? The master of the Ning family could see that the 2 elders of the dragon clan were sitting on pins and needles, so he continued sternly, "It's normal that you don't know. After all, you're still young. However, I don't believe that you guys didn't hear anything about it. So, don't play dumb with us. Tell us what you know. Otherwise, I won't allow you to leave." His words were a little rascally, and the 2 dragon elders' faces flushed red with anger. They moved their lips but did not say a word. What could they say? Say that they've heard the news? No matter what rumors they had heard, those were the internal secrets of the dragon clan. How could he tell others? Moreover, the younger generation of the current dragon clan had almost been brainwashed. They only knew about the wise leadership of the current dragon emperor. As for the previous dragon emperor, who would care? This was the so-called, every emperor changes his courtiers. They were all subordinates of the current dragon emperor and were promoted by the current dragon emperor. Naturally, they would side with the current dragon emperor. Who would still remember the previous dragon emperor? Of course, there were some who had an impression, but those who had an impression were basically no longer in the dragon clan. Those who were still in the clan would probably not mention this matter. Therefore, it was a little difficult for the 2 young elders to ask about the secrets of the current dragon emperor. But the master of the Ning family didn't care about that. Since they were standing on the side of the Yao family's old man, if he was kind enough to let them go, wouldn't that be letting a tiger return to the mountain? He would not do such a stupid thing. The master of the Ning family put on an expression of waiting for the other party's answer. In order to show his closeness to them, he even moved his position to their side and stared at them without turning his eyes, seemingly deeply in love. The 2 dragon elders felt their bodies burning under the unusual gaze of the master of the Ning family, especially their pale faces, which were burning hot. "Master Ning, the 2 elders don't know, so why do you have to be so aggressive and force them to say it? Aren't you making things difficult for me?" Seeing this, the head of the Yao family said indignantly. "If you don't want them to say it, why don't you say it?" Hearing this, the master of the Ning family laughed. "Thanks, what did I say? How would I know about the matters of the Beast clan?" Hearing these words, the head of the Yao family was so angry that his entire body trembled as he hurriedly replied. "Since you don't know, then don't interrupt." The Ning family head's face was full of disapproval and even disdain. When the Yao family head heard this, he was even more angry. "Good. I won't interrupt, but when you've offended all the beasts, don't come to me and ask for my help." The head of the Yao clan snorted and immediately shut his mouth, preparing to watch a good show. The master of the Ning family was very satisfied when he saw that the old man of the Yao family had quieted down. Then, he turned his eyes to the 2 panicking elders of the dragon tribe. Of course, he didn't forget the 2 elders of the phoenix tribe. He smiled at the 4 of them and said, "It doesn't matter if you don't know. Send a message back to the clan and ask around. We'll be waiting for you." When the 2 dragons and the phoenix, who were still clear-headed, heard this, they were completely depressed. At this moment, the dazed elder Qin also came back to his senses. Hearing this, he asked with a puzzled expression, "Why are you waiting for us?" However, she didn't give Master Ning a chance to answer. She quickly turned her eyes to Jiang Ning and begged with tears in her eyes, "Sir Jiang Ning, our beast race and your alchemist guild's headquarters have always had a pleasant cooperation. So, you can't do this? Please take back what you just said." Elder Qin's words were full of hidden bitterness, but everyone who heard them couldn't help but think to themselves that Elder Qin's reflex arc was really long enough. It actually took her so long to react. However, the current Jiang Ning obviously couldn't be bothered to pay any more attention to Elder Qin, because she only cared about drinking tea and didn't even raise her head. Seeing this, the master of the Ning family was kind and kindly reminded, "Elder Qin, we're not talking about that right now, so don't go off topic." "Ah. Then what are you talking about now?" Elder Qin asked unwillingly. After being provoked by Jiang Ning, her temper had instantly subsided. Therefore, even though she was angry, she still asked in a very polite manner. "We're talking about the secret of the dragon kind and the phoenix kind. You probably don't know." The master of the Ning family laughed evilly. "What a joke. What secrets do the dragon kind and the phoenix kind have that I don't know?" Hearing this, Elder Qin immediately replied reflexively. Her answer made the two dragons and the phoenix, who had been silent, look even more terrible. "Idiot! What an idiot!" The three of them were exasperated. A certain phoenix received the looks from the two dragon tribe elders and was about to stop Elder Qin from speaking nonsense. However, she suddenly realized that she could not speak. Immediately, her beautiful face showed a look of panic. When the two dragon tribe elders saw this, they thought that she was unwilling to speak. Therefore, they glared at her even more fiercely. On the other hand, a certain phoenix was in a difficult position to speak. She wanted to send a message to the two of them, but she found that she couldn't use her divine power to send a message. This fact made her even more panicked. The little tricks of the three of them naturally couldn't be hidden from the master of the Ning family, who was very close to them. Although he didn't know what the three of them were doing, seeing that they didn't say anything, the master of the Ning family was relieved. Then, the master of the Ning family asked, "Then tell me, how did your current Phoenix King and their Dragon Emperor get their thrones?" Chapter 2303, Breaking the News, 3, This, when Elder Qin heard this question, she was dumbfounded. Never in her dreams did she expect that she would have to answer this kind of question. How was she supposed to answer? Elder Qin didn't know what to do, and her originally beautiful face was now filled with conflict. Seeing this, the master of the Ning family could only remind him, "Elder Qin, you've said that there's no secret of the dragon and phoenix clans that you don't know. We only want to know this right now, so tell us." How can I tell you this kind of thing? This is a secret between the phoenix kind and the dragon kind. For Elder Qin to say this, it was enough to prove that she wasn't stupid and hadn't completely lost her mind to be led by the nose by the Ning family master. When the two dragons and the phoenix heard this, they all immediately let out a sigh of relief. Hearing Elder Qin say this, the Ning family's master still didn't give up and asked, "Elder Qin, is it because you don't know or you really can't say?" "Of course I can't tell you." Elder Qin was very certain. Did he really think she was stupid? He knew how to say anything. "Elder Qin, I also want to know. If you tell me, I'll take back what I said. How about it?" At this time, Jiang Ning suddenly raised his head and interrupted with a look that seemed to want the world to be in chaos. When the crowd heard what Jiang Ning said, they started to sympathize with Elder Qin. It wasn't easy for this phoenix either. Because no matter what she chose, it would not end well. However, the head of the Ning family, who had also heard this, was extremely happy. He and Jiang Ning even exchanged a tacit look. Then, he sat quietly in his seat and waited for Elder Qin to make a wise choice. At this moment, Elder Qin was both angry and furious. Her face was no longer as pitiful as it was when she was begging Jiang Ning. In her heart, she was cursing Jiang Ning and the head of the Ning family. However, she didn't say anything for a long time. Seeing her like this, the head of the Ning family and Jiang Ning didn't rush her. At this moment, the head of the Yao family suddenly stood up from his seat and said to the people present with a serious expression, "Everyone, this old man has a few words to say to you. Please speak, Yao family head." Someone gave him face and immediately said. When the head of the Yao family heard this, he nodded in satisfaction at the person who had spoken. Then, his expression turned serious and he said, "Everyone, have you forgotten the reason why we gathered here? We're here to discuss Leng Ruox's matter. Right now, we haven't even reached a conclusion regarding Leng Ruox's matter. Why are we all shifting the topic to the Phoenix and Dragon clans? Discussing the matter between the Dragon kind and the Phoenix kind in public. If the Dragon Emperor and the Phoenix King found out about this, have you ever thought about the consequences? So, I hope everyone can get back to the point. It's best if we humans don't get involved in the matters of the beast race. Otherwise, it'll only deepen the conflict between us and the beast race. It won't be good for either of us, don't you think so?" Of course it's wrong. If the magical beasts don't get along and the divine realm is in chaos, do you think we humans can stay out of it? After hearing Master Yao's words, Master Ning sneered. Besides, we're not trying to eavesdrop on the secrets of the dragon kind and the phoenix kind right now. Aren't we just discussing my daughter's matter? It's the dragon clan and the phoenix clan who said that some of their elders were injured by Shuai and have fallen unconscious, but they can't produce any evidence to prove the truth. A certain elder of the phoenix clan also said that the magical beasts are very united. That's why I can't help but want to ask about what happened hundreds of thousands of years ago. The master of the Ning family continued. Yao family head, although we were still very young several 100,000 years ago, I believe that you definitely won't forget what happened back then. Our 8 divine domains only started developing at that time. If it weren't for the events that happened hundreds of thousands of years ago, we would probably be some unrated clans by now. How could we possibly grow into a top power? So, don't forget your roots. After turning his gaze to the head of the Yao family, the head of the Ning family reminded him with a heavy heart. Upon hearing his words, the Yao family head's face turned ashen. However, Master Ning still didn't give Master Yao a chance to speak and continued, "If I'm not mistaken, the incident started with the magical beasts and eventually spread to the human race. Therefore, I feel that as a member of the divine realm, every one of us has the duty to know the truth. Thus, I request the kings of the Phoenix clan, Dragon clan, and White Tiger clan to give a reasonable explanation for what happened all those years ago. Of course, the God Lord's estate should also give us the people of the divine realm an explanation." As he spoke, the master of the Ning family turned his gaze to Huang Wei and Xia Yi, who had been silent the whole time. When the two of them saw this, they knew that they could no longer keep their eyes closed. They could only helplessly say, "Why should the divine master's estate give an explanation for the matter of the beasts?" Hee. Although it was the beast clan's matter in the beginning, the divine master's estate was the mastermind behind it. So, do you think that the divine master's estate should give us, the people of the divine world, an explanation? Master Ning said with a smile. Upon hearing this, Huang Wei and Xia Yi were both a little angry. Xia Yi was so angry that he pointed directly at the master of the Ning family and roared in anger, "Master Ning, I respect that you are a man of status and position in the divinity. You are an indomitable figure. How could you say such irresponsible words? Although Master Yu has already fallen, I will not allow you to slander him like this." "Thanks, Master Yu." "Sir Xia Yi, I can't believe you still remember Master Yu." The master of the Ning family sighed. "What do you mean by this?" "Master Yu is a legend in the divine realm, no one will forget him." Xia Yi could not help but ask after hearing Master Ning's words. "You're right. Master Yu is the most respected divine master in the divine realm. Of course, he can't be the mastermind behind the beast clan's affairs. I'm talking about someone else." The master of the Ning family said with a sigh. "Someone else? Who are you referring to?" Xia Yi was a little suspicious. He could not help but wonder in his heart, could there be some inside story about what happened back then? When Master Yu had passed away, he was about the same age as the head of the Ning family and was not very powerful, so he had little access to confidential matters. So, other than knowing that Master Yu had passed away, he had never known how Master Yu had died. After becoming the Divine Lord's imperial hierarch, he had secretly investigated this matter but had found nothing. All the old men in the Divine Lord's estate had been replaced. At that time, the Divine Lord's estate was filled with new people like him. He had not been able to find out anything from them. Moreover, the matter of Lord Yu was considered taboo in the Divine Lord's estate. The reason was, of course, that they were afraid that Divine Lord Fog Ripple would recall the past. Thus, no one dared to mention the name, Lord Yu. However, after hearing the words of the Ning clan's master, Xia Yi's suspicions deepened. When the others heard that the master of the Ning family seemed to be going to reveal something again, they quickly perked up their ears, their eyes shining, and looked at him with anticipation. Receiving everyone's gazes, Master Ning deliberately paused, and then said, "At that time, the person behind the rebellion of the Dragon Clan, Phoenix Clan, and White Tiger Clan was precisely the current divine master of our divine realm, Lord Rime. Sir, you also died in the hands of Wu Yen." The master of the Ning family glanced at the bewildered Xia Yi and added, "This is impossible." After Xia Yi heard this, although his expression changed drastically, he still couldn't help but retort. When everyone heard Master Ning's big news, their faces were also ugly. Many people even regretted their curiosity. Let's not talk about whether it was true or not. After hearing this, it was impossible for them to keep themselves away from the world and clear their names. Moreover, it was related to the mystery of the death of the previous Divine Master and the innocence of the current Divine Master. No matter how they thought about it, they felt that the matter was a little serious. This information was indeed explosive, but it was too big, and it wasn't something they could bear. Everyone was so regretful that their intestines turned green. But now, it was too late for them to pretend that they didn't know anything. At this time, the head of the Yao family also felt that the matter seemed to be out of control. If Lady Wuchen heard of this matter, their Yao family would be implicated. The head of the Yao family had a terrible headache, but he had no choice but to say, "Master Ning, you can't just say things without evidence. Everyone knows that Lady Wooly and Lord Yu are as close as brother and sister. How could Lady Wooly kill Lord Yu? Moreover, with the strength of Lord Wuchen back then, it was impossible for him to be Lord Ye's opponent. So, please don't harm us, we don't know anything." "Right. Right. We don't know anything. Master Ning, well, pretend you never said that. We all have our elders and children to take care of. We can't bear the anger of Lord Wuchen." As soon as the head of the Yao clan finished speaking, someone immediately chimed in, and some even wanted to take their leave. However, the person who was about to leave was blocked the moment he reached the living room. The few people who were blocked looked dazedly at the woman in front of them, who was smiling brightly and had devastatingly beautiful looks. 3 words immediately appeared in their hearts: Ling Ruoxue. Oh my god! It was Ling Ruoxue. It wasn't confirmed. It was her. Although they had never seen her in person, they had seen her image before, so they naturally recognized her. But why was she here? This was the Yao family. She actually dared to come here. Wasn't he a little too bold?